1 Awakening the SSS rank class. Velora Continent, East Region. In one of the bustling cities of the Inner Circle, Crestford City, a group of young men and women, all around 15 years old, stood with a mix of seriousness and apprehension etched onto their faces. Weapons of various kinds, swords, spears, and bows with quivers of arrows, were slung across their backs as they stood facing the shimmering blue portal before them. Armed men and women in military attire formed a protective circle around the portal, standing guard with unwavering vigilance.
We're really entering a dungeon this time.
One student exclaimed, a mix of excitement and nerves evident in their voice.
I can't lie, I'm nervous too.
Another admitted, shifting uneasily.
Pathetic.
A confident voice scoffed.
There's nothing to fear in an awakening dungeon. It's just goblins. Easy for you to say.
Someone else muttered.
I've never fought a monster before. This will be my first real battle, and honestly, it's a little terrifying. Don't overthink it.
Another chimed in, their tone steady and reassuring.
We've been trained for this for 5 years. The academy made sure we're prepared for anything the dungeon might throw at us. Exactly.
Another agreed with a firm nod.
All we have to do is stay cautious and stick to what we've learned. We'll be fine.
The students continued talking, their voices a mix of apprehension and determination. Some were visibly tense, gripping their weapons tightly, while others stood tall with confidence, trusting in the rigorous teachings of Horizon Academy. Among the students stood a striking young man, his silver-white hair flowing effortlessly, catching the light with every movement. His piercing pink eyes gleamed with an otherworldly intensity, drawing attention even in the midst of the crowd.
What? Are you afraid?
Max chuckled, glancing at his trembling friend. He wore a blue shirt over a black t-shirt, with a sword strapped securely to his waist. A small bag was slung across his shoulders behind his back, and a carefully placed dagger rested within easy reach, completing his prepared yet casual appearance.
A little.
Nevin admitted in a quiet voice, his messy black hair falling over his drooped eyes.
Even though this is a no-rank dungeon, the boss monster inside could range from level 3 to level 5. And if luck isn't on our side, we might have to face a level 5 boss. Don't worry too much.
Max chuckled, wrapping his hands around Nevin's neck.
It's a goblin-based dungeon, and we all know they're the weakest monsters we could find in the dungeons, so don't think too much about it.
Nevin sighed and nodded, though the hesitation lingered on his face, clear as day. Max shook his head with mild exasperation, seeing his best friend so scared of something as harmless as a no-rank dungeon. Could he planning to? A dreaded thought came to his mind, but he immediately shook his head. No, I am just overthinking this for sure. It must be the no-rank dungeons. No-rank dungeons, often called awakening dungeons, were the most basic and weakest dungeons known in the world. These places held no real danger, yet they were vital for every 15-year-old, as entering one was the only way to awaken their classes and begin their journey towards transcendence. I wonder what class I'll awaken. Max thought, his excitement bubbling under the surface. But suddenly, an image flashed in his mind, a familiar face, one he hadn't seen in years. Big sister. Where are you? It's been 2 years. His expression shifted abruptly, the spark of delight in his eyes dimming into sorrow. Are you in some kind of trouble? He wondered, clenching his fists tightly. But don't worry, I'll come looking for you soon. Just let me awaken a class first. His expression turned serious as he hardened his resolve. 5 years ago, just before his sister awakened, their parents disappeared without a trace, leaving Max and his sister to rely on each other for everything. She had been his anchor, his guide through the storm of uncertainty. But 2 years ago, even that anchor was torn away when his sister stopped sending messages and vanished from his life. The last time he had seen her felt like a lifetime ago. Since then, a gnawing void had consumed him, a need to find her, to uncover the truth about their parents. Every day, that goal burned brighter in his heart, refusing to fade. And therefore, awakening his class had become more than a milestone to him, it was the first step toward reclaiming his family and uncovering the truth that had haunted him for years.
Everyone.
At that moment, a middle-aged man with golden hair arrived before them. He wore a black suit and black glasses in a stylish fashion. He was the dean of the Horizon Academy, Sean Waynes.
Students of Horizon Academy, this is the moment you've been waiting for, the beginning of your journey, the culmination of 5 years of relentless effort, discipline, and determination.
He declared, his voice ringing with pride and purpose.
You have been trained, tested, and prepared for this day. The knowledge you've gained about dungeons and their dangers is etched into your very being, so I won't waste words on what you already know.
He continued, his tone turning solemn, heavy with meaning.
But remember this, a dungeon is an unforgiving place, where the line between glory and tragedy is razor thin. Be vigilant, for the unknown lurks in every shadow, and the unforeseen waits for no one.
The kids nodded, hearing the dean. Although they were slightly nervous because it was their first time going into a dungeon and fighting monsters, they knew they were all well prepared. The nervousness was just a fleeting problem for them, which would go away as soon as they entered the dungeon.
All right then, go forth and conquer the dungeon.
The dean declared, pointing at the shimmering blue portal.
Let's go, Nevin.
Max said to Nevin before heading towards the portal. Nevin nodded as he closely followed behind. Soon they entered the dungeon with all the students of the Horizon Academy and disappeared from the scene. Just as Max passed through the portal, his head swirled for a moment before he found himself standing in a narrow hall. Torches lined the walls, and a foul stench struck Max. Damn, this place is smelly. Looking around, he found that he wasn't alone. There were 6 other students present beside him, but none he was familiar with. Just at that moment, a bright blue light appeared in his vision and a voice rang in his head. Congratulations to Max Voidwalker for awakening a SSS rank class, Dimensional Keeper. Max froze, his breath catching in his throat as the shimmering blue notification floated before his eyes. SSS rank class. His mind reeled, the words refusing to sink in. His heart pounded in his chest like a war drum as he reread the notification again and again, hoping it wasn't some cruel glitch or mistake.
This can't be real.
He whispered, his voice trembling. He felt like the ground had been ripped out from under him. From F to SSS, the class ranks represented the spectrum of strength, potential, and power in this world. F was useless, D was average, and even an A rank was rare enough to grant someone a lifetime of admiration. But SSS? That was a rank spoken of in myths, something most people wouldn't even dare to dream about. Max had hoped, prayed, for something reasonable. AC rank or even AD rank would have been enough to keep his hopes alive. But this? This was beyond anything he could have ever imagined. He stumbled back, his legs shaky, and clutched his hands together, his fingers trembling. His mind spiraled as the implications began to sink in.
SSS rank. I'm at the absolute peak of potential in the entire world.
He clenched his fists tightly, his knuckles widening as a surge of exhilaration and disbelief coursed through him. For someone who had always prepared for mediocrity, the realization hit like a tidal wave. A class this rare meant more than strength, it meant destiny. It meant every gate that had been locked before him was now wide open. His path wasn't just cleared, it was golden, blinding, endless. A nervous laugh bubbled up in his throat, spilling into the silence.
How did this happen to me?
His shock melted into a trembling grin as the gravity of his fortune overwhelmed him. For the first time in his life, Max felt like the world wasn't just indifferent to him, it had chosen him. It had handed him the keys to something extraordinary. I was always taught to be content with what I had, to find happiness in whatever life gave me. But this changes everything, Max thought, his fists clenching with newfound resolve. With a SSS rank class, settling for anything less than the very best would be a disgrace, to myself, and to the potential this class represents. I can't waste this gift. I won't. 2-3-dimensional body. But still, what is this class called Dimensional Keeper? I haven't heard of any classes like this one, and most importantly, why is my surname Voidwalker here? Max pondered, recalling how the system had called him Max Voidwalker instead of Max Morgan, his real name. He could understand his class being unique since he had awakened a rare, one-of-a-kind SSS rank class, so it didn't surprise him that he wasn't aware of such a class. An SSS rank class was bound to be unique. But his name? He didn't believe the system would get his name wrong. Unless my real name is not Max Morgan but Max Voidwalker? Max came to a shocking conclusion. He knew the system couldn't be wrong, so the only possible scenario was that his name was never Max Morgan but Max Voidwalker.
Gore.
Many questions raged through his mind, but he didn't have time for them as goblin screeches echoed across the hall. I'll think about this after the dungeon, he thought, saying.
Status.
In his mind. A screen appeared in his vision, profiling his class and other details. Max. Rank, Novice. Level, 0. Class, Dimensional Keeper. Physique, 4. Soul, 6. Energy, 5. Skills. Class skills, 3-dimensional body, dimension of time. Acquired skills. 3-dimensional body and dimension of time. Max glanced at the skills his class provided, his face thoughtful as he checked them in detail. 3-dimensional body. Description: a body that has unique control, perception, and interaction capabilities within the 3D spatial realm, potentially transcending the typical limitations of human physicality. Dimension of time. Description: a time dimension held by the enigmatic Dimensional Keeper, a space where the flow of time bends to their will, capable of performing unimaginable wonders. Strange. These skills don't have any ranks or levels, Max thought, finding this very unusual. In this world, skills, treasures, and any materialistic items fell under 6 categories: common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, and divine rank. Yet the skills from his class lacked any rank designation. He could only hope they were as good as their origin from an elusive SSS rank class.
Look, goblins are here.
Someone shouted, drawing his attention to the far end of the hall, where goblins were advancing toward them. I guess it's time to figure out whether these rankless skills are truly strong enough for their class or not. Max quickly retrieved 2 scrolls from his bag. He opened the first scroll, touching it with his right hand, causing it to glow blue before disappearing. Congratulations to Max Voidwalker for obtaining the skill, Basic Sword Art. Seeing the notification, he repeated the process with the second scroll. Congratulations to Max Voidwalker for obtaining the skill, Magic Bullets. Basic Sword Art. Rank, Common. Level, 0. Description: the simplest and most universal sword art taught to beginners. It focuses on mastering the rudimentary techniques of swordsmanship, emphasizing form, balance, and timing. Magic Bullets. Rank, Common. Level, 0. Description: the skill allows the user to conjure and fire basic projectiles made of pure magical energy. These 2 skills Big Sister gave me are good for a beginner like me. One for close combat and another for long-range attacks. Max smiled in satisfaction, assessing his newly acquired skills. It's time for battle. He unsheathed his sword, secured his bag tightly on his back, and faced the advancing goblins in the hall, ready to fight. A total of 10 level 1 goblins. Max noted their weapons, stone knives and short bows. Good targets indeed.
We should attack. Their numbers are higher, but if we strike first and take out 1 or 2, it'll be an easy fight.
he said to the academy students, who were equally prepared for battle.
We're ready.
One of the students replied.
Follow my lead. I'll create an opening, then attack.
Max nodded and dashed forward. Some goblins immediately fired arrows at him. Let's see how useful the skill I got from my class is. He activated three-dimensional body, and what he experienced shocked him to the core.
Damn, is this skill broken or what?
Max exclaimed in amazement as the skill activated. Suddenly, his perspective shifted, he could see himself as though from a third-person view, every detail of his surroundings sharpened to perfection. The faint buzz of insects near the walls, the intricate patterns of spiderwebs in the corners, the glistening moisture clinging to the rough stone of the hall, and even the subtle arc of incoming arrows, all unfolded before him in a vivid, three-dimensional panorama. It was as if the world itself had slowed down, each detail amplified, granting him an unparalleled awareness of his environment. This is so cool. Max rejoiced silently. Swish. 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 I guess I can help them one last time. Sighing, he used magic bullets, firing 4 shots that intercepted and destroyed the incoming arrows. Bang. 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 All the arrows were shot down instantly. Max immediately accelerated toward the goblins. With his sword, he struck down the first one, slicing through it from shoulder to waist. Green blood sprayed through the air, but Max dodged the filthy liquid. The goblin's body glowed red and disappeared, leaving behind a few items. It seems all that academy training wasn't for nothing, Max thought. Noticing 2 goblins attacking from both sides, he relied on three-dimensional body to react. He fired a magic bullet at the goblin on his left while slashing horizontally at the one on his right, cutting it in half. Its body vanished moments later, leaving behind drops of loot. The goblin hit by the magic bullet writhed in pain, a hole in its body. While not dead, it was incapacitated, slowly succumbing to its injuries. Fighting is so exhilarating. Max thought excitedly, feeling the satisfaction brewing inside him as he battled the goblins. What about others? Glancing back at the others and noted that they were also handling the goblins. They are barely managing 3 goblins, but I'm not complaining. He dashed forward toward the remaining 4 goblins. 3 killing goblins and leveling up. Bang! He shot a bullet at one of the goblins, hitting it straight in the head and leaving a gaping hole. Approaching the remaining 3, he decided to use the basic sword art skill to finish them off. Max attacked as soon as he neared them, executing an upward slash from the ground that split one goblin in half. Swiftly, he moved to his right and thrust his sword straight into the head of the second goblin. It couldn't dodge, resulting in its head being pierced. However, at that moment, the last goblin attacked with its wooden knife, aiming directly at Max's left waist. Thanks to his three-dimensional body skill, Max could see the attack coming. He spun quickly, angling his sword to parry the strike, causing the knife in the goblin's hand to fly away. Without hesitation, Max swung his sword, slashing the goblin's neck and causing its head to roll across the floor of the hall. This feels so good, Max thought excitedly as he took deep breaths. Despite the ease with which he defeated the goblins, he felt mentally and physically drained. I need to level up. His body possessed only a limited amount of mana since he hadn't even reached level 1 in the novice rank. In fact, his body hadn't undergone any changes since awakening his class. Only a faint wisp of mana had flowed into him during his awakening, and now most of it was depleted, leaving him exhausted. Looking back, he noticed that the other 6 students had defeated their targets.
The ones I killed are mine. The rest are yours to handle.
He declared.
What? That's not fair.
One of the students protested.
You alone will have 7 cores while the 6 of us get 3.
Max sneered.
That's how it is. I killed 7 of them. They're mine. Simple as that. But there are 6 of us. How are we supposed to share 3 cores?
Carl shouted angrily, gritting his teeth. Max shrugged nonchalantly.
I don't care. What I kill is mine. That's final.
He began collecting the drops from the goblins he had defeated.
This guy.
Carl growled in rage, his frustration palpable.
Carl, calm down. You know who this guy is, right?
Sil, another student, patted Carl's shoulder.
I know.
Carl admitted, still fuming.
And I saw how he alone took down 7 goblins while we struggled with 3.
Though enraged, he could do nothing but watch helplessly. Sil sighed.
He's known as the overlord of the academy, for a reason. He dared to fight the dean's son, the general's daughter, and even Henry Rains from the richest family in Crestford City. And he defeated all of them. They didn't stand a chance, whether in physical assessments, theory, or combat. After seeing him take down these goblins, I believe he truly deserves that nickname. Oomph. He won't be undefeated for long.
Carl sneered.
William must have awakened a powerful class, and we all know he'll challenge Max in the dungeon. I bet he'll finally have a chance to beat him. Carl, that's impossible.
Another student, James, chimed in.
We all know William's track record against Max. It's humiliating.
Carl grinned.
I know that, James, but think about it. Max didn't seem to use any class-related skills in his fight. If we share this intel with William, and he defeats Max, we could join his squad. And working under William, the dean's son, would be far better than fumbling around blindly in dungeons.
The other 5 students exchanged smiles, nodding in agreement with Carl's plan. Meanwhile, Max had collected all the items dropped by the goblins and sat in a corner of the hall. 7 cores. Even though they're just basic cores with no rank, they should be enough to get me to level 1 in the novice rank. He glanced at the 7 small green orbs on the ground, along with items like rusty daggers, goblin hide scraps, and stale rations, typical goblin drops. Max picked up one of the rusty daggers and inspected its stats. Rusty dagger. Rank, common, damaged. Description: a dagger used by goblins for ages, now rusty and broken after its owner's demise. Huh. These goblins used stone knives, but they dropped daggers. Interesting, Max thought, deciding the weapon wasn't worth using. I'll just sell them. As he was about to store the items in his backpack, a sudden realization hit him. The dagger in his hand disappeared.
It's gone.
Max exclaimed, startled. But before he could panic, he felt the dagger inside his body.
Is it inside me?
Closing his eyes, he focused on calling the dagger, and to his amazement, it reappeared in his hand.
Damn, I have my own storage space inside my body.
He muttered, excitement coursing through him. This three-dimensional body skill is more than it seems. He quickly stored all the items, except for the 7 cores, in this newfound space.
And now it's time to level up.
Max picked up one of the cores and began absorbing them one by one. Sometime later, Max absorbed the last core, and a notification appeared in his vision. Congratulations to Max Voidwalker for leveling up to level 1 of novice rank. As Max read the notification, a surge of energy coursed through his body. At the same time, he felt an undeniable increase in his physical strength and overall vitality. It's not massive, but I can feel the improvement, he thought, flexing his fingers and testing his new strength. Status: Max. Rank: Novice. Level: 1. Class: Dimensional Keeper. Physique: 4.5. Soul: 6.2. Energy: 6. Skills. Class skills: 3-dimensional body, dimension of time. Acquired skills: basic sword arts, magic bullets. Max frowned as he reviewed his status. My energy stat increased by 1, physique by 0.5, and soul by just 0.2. Is this good or bad compared to other classes? Every class had its own unique stat increments upon leveling up. These values weren't standardized, so Max couldn't determine whether his increases were average, subpar, or exceptional. To him, the overall boost of 1.7 felt underwhelming. Shaking off his doubts, he turned his attention to a more pressing matter, his second-class skill, Dimension of Time. He hadn't had a chance to use it during the fight with the goblins but was eager to test its effects. Anything related to time manipulation piqued his interest. Looking around to ensure the other 6 students were preoccupied, Max silently activated Dimension of Time. The moment the skill took effect, his surroundings shifted. The dungeon's hall, the ground, and even the other students disappeared. In their place was an endless expanse of floating, pure white cloud stretching as far as the eye could see. What is this? How did I get here? Max's heart raced as he spun around, taking in the surreal scenery. The clouds swirled gently, bathed in a calming light that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. It was as though he'd been transported to a dream. This can't be real. Max thought, trying to ground himself. Did the skill do this? Before he could ponder further, a wooden door materialized in front of him, standing impossibly in the middle of the sky. As the door appeared, a surge of information flooded Max's mind, making everything clear. 4 Dimension of Time. I see, so this is only my consciousness that is here. My physical body is still at the exact place where I was before using the Dimension of Time skill, Max thought as he processed the information in his mind. From what he understood, this world he now stood in was a gateway to different dimensions. However, for the time being, he couldn't physically travel there and could only appear here in his soul form. That means the door in front of me is the gateway to the Dimension of Time, Max realized, inspecting the wooden door standing in the middle of nowhere in the world of clouds. Since all of this is a result of my class, there's no harm in checking what's inside. He mused, opening the door and stepping through. The door closed behind him automatically, and Max found himself standing in a vast room with no visible walls. The place felt endless, and everything around him was pure white. What is this place? Max wondered, staring at the mysterious surroundings. Then, another surge of information flooded his mind, clarifying the true purpose of the Dimension of Time.
I don't know if this is true or not, but there's no harm in trying.
Max muttered, pushing his right hand forward and rotating it clockwise, slowly. As he did so, a holographic clock appeared in the white space above him, and the hands of the clock spun at an incredibly high speed. After a moment, everything came to a stop. Max stopped as well and glanced at the notification that had just popped up before everything halted. Dimension of Time has been set to the first stage. First stage, 1 hour equals 1 year. 1 hour equals 1 year? Max was shocked when he saw the notification. He understood immediately what it meant. Spending a year in the Dimension of Time would only cost him an hour in the outside world. This meant that 1 hour in the real world equaled an entire year in this dimension.
This is godlike.
Max marveled, amazed by the power of this ability. He had never encountered anything as broken as this before. It was beyond anything he could have expected when he first activated the Dimension of Time skill.
Then doesn't that mean I can train here for years, and only a few hours would pass in the real world?
Max was astounded by the possibilities and couldn't wait to test it out. He closed his eyes for a moment and checked the current state of the dungeon. Everything remained calm in the narrow hall. No more goblins were coming, and the other 6 students were still waiting for him to take the lead. Looks like they're waiting for me to guide them out of the hall, Max thought, observing their actions. This is good. I can use this time effectively. With that in mind, Max opened his status and checked the Magic Bullet skill. Magic Bullets. Rank, Common. Level, 1. Description: the skill allows the user to conjure and fire basic projectiles made of pure magical energy. Level 1. Max pondered, noting the skill was now at level 1, compared to its previous rank of 0. At level 1, it allows me to shoot only one magic bullet at a time. Level 2 increases it to 2 bullets, level 3 to 3 bullets, and so on. But increasing the level not only increases the number of bullets, but also their power. He understood this, but he also knew that increasing a skill's level was one of the hardest things for a hunter to accomplish. Most hunters spent more time leveling up their skills than they did hunting or progressing in dungeons. To level up a skill, one must master it. You need to understand how the skill works, its mechanism, and that requires a lot of time, Max reflected. He decided to try something. Forming a shooting stance with his right hand, Max fired a magic bullet. A small blue ball of light formed at the tip of his index finger and shot forward like a bullet into the endless white space.
I was right.
Max rejoiced as he saw his prediction come true.
I can use the skill infinitely here. Since I'm in my soul form, not my physical body, I can use any skill repeatedly without worrying about mana consumption.
His eyes widened in shock as a thought suddenly occurred to him.
Doesn't that mean this is a perfect place for training my skills?
By repeatedly using the skill, one could get closer to understanding its mechanics, slowly mastering it and leveling it up. Normally, this process would take a long time, and without a constant supply of mana crystals, it would be impossible to repeatedly use skills without running out of mana. However, Max didn't have to worry about time or mana here. The dimension of time had solved everything for him. He could just focus on comprehending the skill without concern. Even though this is a no-rank dungeon, I still want to kill the boss and the other higher-level goblins. I can't afford to waste more time here in the entry-level section of the dungeon, Max thought, deciding to dedicate only 3 hours to training his magic bullet skill. 3 hours was a short time, but in the dimension of time, 3 full years passed for Max. He spent those 3 years training relentlessly, his focus solely on perfecting the magic bullet skill. For all who has been wondering why he isn't affected mentally by staying in dimension of time for years is because of his 3-dimensional body. This body is designed to not let Max suffer through any problems in his dimension of time or any more dimensions Max would get in the near future. His 3-dimensional body perfectly in sync with all the dimensions he would have in the future or he currently possess. Although it was difficult for him to do nothing but practice for 3 years straight, he held on to his will and continued to train over and over again and again until 3 years finally passed for him.
I finally mastered magic bullet to level 10, but this is too slow.
Max muttered in dissatisfaction. Despite spending 3 years training, he had only reached level 10. He had expected to have reached level 30 or higher, but the reality hit him hard.
Am I too dumb, or is mastering a skill always this hard?
He wondered in silence. He stood there for a moment, shaking his head with a sigh.
There's no point in thinking about it now.
Max closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he was back in the dungeon, in his physical body. However, the sight before him made him break into a cold sweat. 5 Goblin Village. Max saw a horde of goblins with stone knives surrounding him, slowly closing in.
Damn, where did these goblins come from?
He immediately stood up and activated the skill 3-dimensional body. It was then he noticed that the number of goblins surrounding him totaled 10. He also realized that the other 6 students who came with him were nowhere to be found.
They must have set me up.
Max deduced how he had ended up in this situation, but instead of frowning, a smile graced his face as he looked at the goblins closing in.
If this isn't the best time to test the level 10 magic bullets, then when?
He smiled, holding both his hands out towards the goblins, aiming at them. Thanks to 3-dimensional body, he didn't need to worry about his aim. With his omniscient perspective, targeting enemies had become second nature to him. Max laughed, firing 10 bullets from his 10 fingers simultaneously. The 10 bullets, like beams of blue light, shot towards the goblins, penetrating their bodies and tearing chunks of flesh apart. The goblins didn't even have time to realize what hit them before their bodies fell, one by one. Moments later, their corpses disappeared, leaving behind a horde of items. Max was surprised to see that the bullets tore through the goblins' flesh so effortlessly. He hadn't expected the strength of the bullets to increase to this level. It seems level 10 for a skill is quite strong, Max noted, finding this very strange. The Academy books mentioned that a skill could be mastered to the highest level of 100, but they also stated it was impossible to achieve that level. However, they didn't explain why. This lack of clarity left Max unsatisfied with only reaching level 10, even after 3 years of constant practice. Good. Now, let's see what they've dropped. Max smiled in satisfaction and began collecting the items left behind by the goblins. Most of the goblins dropped rusty daggers along with their usual goblin hide scraps, stale rations, and cores. He quickly stored everything in his storage space and continued forward, absorbing the cores along the way. The narrow hall he had entered was one of the entry passageways to this no-rank dungeon. Such halls were scattered throughout the dungeon, and the monsters here weren't particularly strong, only level 1 of novice rank. Max knew, however, that the real difficulty lay ahead, beyond the hall. Max dashed through the narrow corridor, which increasingly resembled a cave the farther he ran. Strangely, he didn't encounter any goblins and reached the end of the hall after a few minutes of non-stop running. There, he saw what appeared to be a village in the distance below him. Thatch huts, wooden pillars, large green leaves for shade, and other rudimentary materials formed the village, which was inhabited by none other than goblins. From his vantage point, Max could see at least 50 goblins roaming the village. Some were battling other students, while others were blissfully unaware of the calamity descending upon them. This is good. Max smiled and slid down to the ground, heading toward the village. Upon arriving, he was immediately greeted by a sight that made him laugh. The 6 students who had set him up were fending off a large number of goblins and struggling to defend themselves. He also noticed other groups of students fighting goblins, equally overwhelmed. The goblins at the village's entrance were level 2 of novice rank and wielded rusty swords, while most of the students hadn't even reached level 1. It's a good place to level up to level 2, Max thought, smiling as he dashed toward the goblins in the distance. He ignored the 6 students who had come with him and headed straight to the center of the action. There, he saw a large number of students barely holding their ground against the goblins, completely suppressed by the monsters. Upon arriving, he didn't attack immediately and stood watching for a moment.
Max! Max is here.
One of the struggling students exclaimed.
Max, help us.
Another shouted.
Yeah, Max, please help us. We're outnumbered, and their strength is higher than ours. Max, we beg you. Please help us. Only you can help us, Max. Please do something.
Max smiled at their pleading faces and responded.
I'll help, but only if all the drops from the goblins I kill belong to me. Otherwise, pretend I'm not here.
The students' faces darkened at his demand, but they knew they had no choice. They exchanged glances and reluctantly agreed.
All right, you can take the drops from the monsters you kill.
One of them said.
Good.
Max grinned and dashed toward the goblins. Reaching the front line, he unleashed 10 magic bullets, killing 10 goblins instantly. Some had their heads exploded, while others were left with gaping holes in their bodies. Moments later, the goblins' corpses vanished in red light, leaving behind their drops. The students stared in shock at how effortlessly Max dispatched the goblins. The glaring difference in strength between them and Max was undeniable, leaving them feeling ashamed. But it wasn't new to them. For 5 years at the academy, they had been overshadowed by the genius Max Morgan. Now, even in the dungeon, the story remained the same.
What are you staring at? More goblins are coming.
Max shouted. The students turned to see at least 15 more goblins approaching. Including the ones they were already struggling against, the number quickly rose to 30.
Damn, so many goblins. Look at their strength. They're all level 2 of novice rank. Level 2? Look closer. Among the 15, 3 are level 3. We're doomed. If we're already facing level 3 monsters, the dungeon boss must be at least level 5. We're dead no matter what.
The students panicked, knowing the challenge of facing level 3 monsters. They could barely handle level 2, let alone anything stronger. But one person among them had only a smile on his face, Max. He dashed toward the incoming goblins, firing 10 magic bullets at the ones engaging the students.
Don't forget my condition.
He called out as he passed them. His bullets quickly dispatched the level 2 goblins, leaving the students with only 5 or so to fight. However, Max spared the goblins further back, leaving them for the students to deal with. He wasn't entirely heartless to take away all the cores and drops from the goblins. 6. A level 4 goblin shaman. Max dashed towards the 15 goblins charging at him and unleashed 10 magic bullets. He targeted only the level 2 goblins, deliberately ignoring the level 3 ones. Bang! 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 The level 2 goblins stood no chance against Max's bullets. Their heads exploded, and gaping holes appeared in their bodies. But 5 goblins remained, 3 of them at level 3. Max swiftly appeared before one of the level 2 goblins and swung his sword in a horizontal arc. Slash! A deep gash appeared on the goblin's body, but that was it, his attack only caused this much damage. Max frowned at the sight but didn't have time to dwell on it as he saw the level 3 goblins taking action. They sprinted towards him with their shiny swords. I will have to finish this one. Max fired a bullet at the one he had just injured. Bang! Its head exploded, and it died. He quickly dashed back, creating distance between them, while aiming at the last level 2 goblin and shot forward a magic bullet. Bang! The bullet hit its body, creating a big gaping hole through it. This basic sword art skill at level 1 mastery is trash, Max thought as he maintained some distance from the 3 level 3 goblins who were charging towards him. I will have to increase my mastery of the basic sword art to at least level 10 too after this, he thought while aiming 3 bullets at the 3 level 3 goblins. Bang! Bang! Bang!
Gore! Gore! Gore!
The bullets hit the 3 goblins, causing green blood to seep out of their bodies. Although the bullets failed to kill the goblins, they made them immobile and heavily injured them. They fell to the ground with green blood flowing out of them. My mana is also low. I can only shoot another 10 bullets at most. Max frowned, seeing the magic bullets fail to kill them. It's good that it's only 3 of them and not an entire crowd. He dashed towards them and arrived before them. Seeing them lying in the green blood, Max showed no pity and fired 3 bullets at their heads, killing them. Their bodies disappeared soon after, leaving behind some shiny swords and other drops from the regular goblins. But what he cared about were the 3 cores they dropped. Max stored them all in his storage space and headed towards the others at the back. He noticed that the students had begun handling the ones at the back that he left for them, leaving behind the items dropped by the goblins he had killed. He smiled at the sight and collected everything into his storage space before silently disappearing from there. Max moved around at the edge of the village while looking for a place to silently level up. He also wanted to train for some hours in the basic sword art to take it to level 10. While moving along the edge of the village, he arrived at the other entrance of the village at the opposite end. He encountered many level 2 goblins along the way, but he killed them all before arriving there. The situation at the other entrance was the same as the one he came from. Goblins surrounded the students, who fought them with difficulty, but Max didn't help as he didn't see any level 3 goblins among them. He thought that when the village was attacked, the 3 level 3 goblins headed towards their entrance, leaving the other entrance with loads of level 2 goblins. William, Zishi, and Henry are with them, so they should be able to handle the goblins here, Max thought, seeing some familiar faces among them. He hid behind a hut so they couldn't see him while they were busy fighting the goblins. I should leave. Max moved towards the middle area of the village. He noticed that level 2 goblins kept coming and guarding the edge of the village even after he killed some, so he decided to check out the middle area to see if he could find a good place. I have absorbed all the cores from the level 1 goblins I killed back at the narrow hallway, and though I failed to level up, my mana is restored to its peak, Max thought as he sneaked towards the middle of the village. He knew that he would encounter more level 3 goblins in this region, so he couldn't help but tread carefully. After silently moving through the middle, Max suddenly hid behind a crate, for he saw a large number of level 1 and level 2 goblins moving in this region. They all had weapons with them, wooden knives and rusty swords. Some even carried clubs. Damn, I really want to go ahead and kill them all. Max resisted the urge to massacre them as he also saw many level 3 goblins around the mob. Max wanted to leave the area when he suddenly felt something. His body reacted to something in this area. His skill 3-dimensional body had been active all the time, and as he looked through that vision of omniscience, he didn't find anything unusual. But I still felt something. Max frowned and stepped back from the crate. He closed his eyes for a moment and focused on the sensation. It came from my 3-dimensional body skill. He opened his eyes and sneakily moved towards the area where the feeling was coming from. He didn't forget to stay wary of the goblins, so he tried to avoid them. Those he couldn't avoid, he sent them to hell silently on their way. After some time of sneaking, Max arrived before a small tent. The tent wasn't far away, but because it was in the middle region of the village filled with level 3 goblins, Max had to be cautious while coming here. The feeling is coming from this tent. Max observed the tent and noticed that it looked exactly the same as any other tent in the village. It was made up of leaves and wood. Let's see what's so great about this tent. He cautiously moved and entered inside. However, what he found inside shocked him slightly. He saw that he appeared in a large hall which had many things inside. From swords to spears to clubs to knives, but he noticed all of them were rusty and wooden like the ones level 1 and level 2 goblins used. He also noticed many other things inside, but what attracted his attention the most was the goblin standing at the far end of the hall. The goblin's strength seemed to be at level 4, and it carried a staff in its hand, unlike the other goblins Max had encountered in the dungeon. Max's eyes widened. Goblin shamans were typically boss-type monsters in low-rank dungeons, but this one didn't seem to be the dungeon boss. I see, I have hit the jackpot. This may be a hidden chamber of this dungeon, Max realized now, and he also understood why his 3-dimensional body skill led him here. Since the 3-dimensional body skill is a space-related ability, it could have sensed the strangeness in the space around the tent, he speculated.
Growling.
However, Max had no time to dwell on his thoughts. The goblin shaman wasted no moment and launched an attack, conjuring a blazing fireball with a flick of its staff. The attack was swift, giving Max only seconds to react. 7. A new skill. Max immediately fired 4 magic bullets at the incoming fireball. Bang! 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 The first 2 bullets dissipated some of the fire on impact, but the next 2 bullets completely neutralized the fireball before it could reach Max. It took 4 magic bullets to destroy 1 fireball from the goblin shaman. If I can do the same. Interesting, Max mused as he launched an attack. He fired 4 magic bullets simultaneously, aiming straight at the goblin shaman's head. But the goblin shaman was prepared. It fired 4 lightning bolts from its staff, which intercepted the magic bullets and neutralized them. Max frowned when he noticed that the goblin shaman's lightning bolts had cancelled out his magic bullets. I don't want a close combat battle, but it seems I don't have much choice here, he thought as he began dashing toward the goblin shaman. Midway toward the goblin, he fired another magic bullet. In response, the goblin shaman unleashed another fireball at him. Seeing this, Max smiled and fired 3 more bullets. His 4 magic bullets destroyed the fireball midway. However, just after that, the goblin shaman launched 5 lightning bolts. This is it, Max thought, waiting for the moment. As the 5 lightning bolts crackled through the air toward him, Max swiftly activated his 3-dimensional body skill. In an instant, the entire hall unfolded before him in an omniscient, all-encompassing perspective. Every movement, every flicker of the lightning bolts, became crystal clear. He could see their precise trajectories, calculate their speeds, and predict their destinations with uncanny accuracy. To Max, it was as if time itself had slowed, the chaos of the attack reduced to a perfectly clear map of possibilities. With such godlike ability, dodging the 5 lightning bolts while moving toward them was child's play for Max. He made a series of odd maneuvers as he dashed, effortlessly dodging the lightning bolts, and within moments, he was close to the goblin shaman. He could use his sword, and he very much wanted to, but he knew his sword art wouldn't do much against a level 4 goblin. The only attack that might be effective in killing the goblin shaman was firing all 10 bullets at its body, but Max had other plans. Since coming out of the dimension of time, he had been using magic bullets frequently and had fired all 10 bullets many times. But now, after witnessing the goblin shaman's fireball attack, he had come up with a new idea. He wanted to combine all 10 magic bullets into one large magic bullet, which would have the power of all 10 bullets combined. Let's try it. The worst that could happen is I fail and have to use the 3-dimensional body to escape, Max thought. He pointed a finger at the goblin shaman, positioning his hand like a gun. He concentrated and released 1 magic bullet at the tip of his finger, but he didn't fire it. He held it just outside his index finger. A small blue ball, the size of his finger, began to glow at the tip of his index finger. Having successfully controlled the magic bullet at the tip of his finger, Max immediately fired another magic bullet. The blue ball of light became dangerously unstable, but Max gritted his teeth and held on. He used all his strength to control the blue ball, which had become slightly larger and unstable from the second shot. If the shot were fired now, he would have to start over, and he didn't want that. Using sheer willpower, he managed to stabilize the blue ball at the tip of his finger. Zhang. 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 At that moment, the goblin shaman launched another 5 lightning bolts at him, but Max once again dodged them all with his 3-dimensional body. At the same time, he fired the 3rd magic bullet. The ball became unstable again, but, with the experience from the last time, Max was better able to control it, preventing it from going berserk. He fired the 4th, 5th, 6th, and continued until he had fired the 10th bullet. By the time he fired the 10th bullet, the blue ball of light had grown to the size of his fist, pulsating with dangerously unstable energy. This is it. I can't control it anymore, Max thought, gritting his teeth. He turned his attention to the goblin shaman, which was stepping back sensing the energy in the bullet.
How can I let you go after I prepared such a delicious meal for you?
Max laughed with a crazed look and fired the concentrated bullet, a combination of all 10 magic bullets' power. Bang! A beam of blue light shot from the blue ball at the tip of Max's finger and pierced through the goblin shaman's head, illuminating the entire hidden chamber. Bang! After passing through the head, the blue light struck the back wall, tearing through it, and then disappeared beyond it.
Now that's what I'd call a finishing move.
Max smiled, seeing that he had successfully accomplished what he had set out to do on his first try. The skill Magic Bullets has leveled up to level 11. The skill Magic Bullets has leveled up to level 12. The skill Magic Bullets has leveled up to level 13. At that moment, 3 notifications appeared in Max's vision, and a wide smile spread across his face.
I've trained so hard for 3 years and raised Magic Bullets to level 10, but now I try something new and the skill levels up 3 times straight to level 13.
Max mused, finding this very interesting. So trying new things with a skill also increases mastery of the skill level, he noted mentally. After that, Max scanned the hidden chamber and noticed that it resembled a treasure room, with various items carefully placed on the wreckage scattered around the walls and tables. This must be the goblin's treasury room, Max deduced before heading toward the items dropped by the level 4 goblin shaman. A magic staff and the usual drops from goblins. Nothing special. He was a little disappointed by the drops, especially given that it was a hidden chamber, but he didn't mind and gathered everything up. He moved forward to the place where he had first spotted the goblin shaman. Upon arrival, he noticed a few miscellaneous items, but one thing immediately caught his attention.
A skill scroll.
Max grabbed the scroll and checked its status. 8. A little bit of training and meeting with others. Swift dash. Rank, common. Level, 0. Description, a straightforward dash skill that enhances the user's speed for a brief moment, allowing them to close the distance to enemies or evade attacks. Perfect for beginners seeking quick movement in combat situations. So, it's a movement-type skill. Max sighed. Although he knew this dungeon couldn't possess anything better than basic skills and items, since it was a no-rank dungeon, he was still a little disappointed that even the hidden chamber only contained a movement-type basic skill. I guess it's better than nothing. He opened the scroll and placed his hand on it. The skill scroll glowed with blue light before it vanished in the same hue. Congratulations to Max Voidwalker for obtaining the skill, Swift Dash. Let's see how swift its speed is. Max mused and activated the skill. Swish. His form blurred, and he disappeared from his position, reappearing just before the tables at the opposite end of the hall.
This is good.
Max was satisfied. The speed was enough to catch any enemy off guard and close the distance quickly.
This skill is great, but to make the best use of it, I need to level up my basic sword arts to at least level 10. Only then will I be invincible in close combat.
He muttered to himself, envisioning a scene where he used his 3-dimensional body, swift dash, and basic sword arts to overwhelm any foe in a close combat battle. Alright, I should start training. Max thought, sitting cross-legged on the ground and closing his eyes. He believed this hidden chamber was probably the safest place in the entire dungeon, where no one would disturb him. He activated the Dimension of Time skill and appeared directly in the time dimension without having to go through the door. Sweet, now let's start training the basic sword arts. 4 hours passed, and Max opened his eyes. A wide, smug smile spread across his face as he stood up and checked his status for the basic sword art skill. Basic sword art. Rank, common. Level, 20. Description, the simplest and most universal sword art taught to beginners. It focuses on mastering the rudimentary techniques of swordsmanship, emphasizing form, balance, and timing. This is good. It took a year longer, but I managed to master basic sword arts to level 20. Max smiled at the result. Although he felt that mastering the basic sword arts was many times easier than mastering the magic bullet skill for some reason, he didn't think too much of it. It was like I've already trained this skill before. He couldn't describe the strange feeling he had while training for 4 years in basic sword arts. He felt as though he was already very familiar with the skill, even though he wasn't. It's a good thing, so I shouldn't complain. Max mused. After that, he sat down again and began absorbing all the cores he had collected so far. Some time later, a notification popped up in his vision. Congratulations to Max Voidwalker for leveling up to level 2 of novice rank. However, upon seeing the notification, he wasn't happy at all. He had 3 level 3 goblin cores, 1 level 4 goblin core, and many level 2 goblin cores, yet his level only increased by 1 after absorbing all of them. Just as the books mentioned, the difficulty of leveling increases as one becomes stronger, he thought, turning his attention toward the door he came from.
It's time to kill the boss and leave the dungeon.
He muttered and exited the hidden chamber. What greeted Max when he stepped out of the hidden chamber was pure chaos. Goblins were waging war against the students from his academy. All the level 2 goblins were handled by those who had recently upgraded their strength to level 1. As Max observed, he noticed many level 1 students among those fighting, as he had seen before. Huh. The students have gathered at both entrances to fight. Max observed and credited Zishi for coming up with such a plan. Thanks to it, the number of students in the village exceeded that of the goblins combined.
Blade Waltz.
Just then, a familiar shout reached Max's ears. He turned toward the voice and saw a kid with light golden hair thrust his sword forward skillfully in a barrage, each strike stronger than the last, aimed at a level 3 goblin. From Max's point of view, he only saw sword shadows released from William's sword one after another, hitting the level 3 goblin. The level 3 goblin was pushed back by William's constant barrage of attacks, with deep gashes appearing on its body. But that was all, his attacks failed to deliver a decisive blow to severely injure the goblin.
TCH, these level 3 goblins are hard to kill.
William said in frustration as he stepped back.
Don't worry, with our cooperation, we can easily kill it.
A lady with brown hair stepped forward beside William. Her sharp gray eyes glinted with intelligence, and her graceful yet purposeful movements exuded quiet confidence.
Bind it,
William said, nodding. Zishi nodded and moved her hands in a strange manner.
GGGHHH.
Just then, a spirit or ghost-like figure with a skull and skeleton body emerged from the ground below the level 3 goblin and tightly bound its hands and legs, restricting its movement.
It's time to finish it.
William shot forward again, using a movement skill to appear before the level 3 goblin, now bound by Zishi and her ghost spirit.
Gar break.
He used his strongest skill, thrusting his sword forward. The sword gleamed in pure golden light. Bang! The golden sword struck the motionless goblin and pierced through its heart, emerging from its back. Green blood sprayed onto William's face and body, but he didn't flinch and stood calmly. After a few seconds, the goblin's corpse disappeared, leaving behind a few items on the ground.
Guys, a little help here.
An urgent shout soon reached William's and Zishi's ears.
Henry.
They looked at each other and immediately turned toward the shout, seeing Henry, alone, fending off 3 level 3 goblins with a shield twice his size. Seeing that, they immediately dashed toward Henry. However, before they could reach him, 3 beams of light shot toward Henry, and a moment later, the 3 goblins Henry had been shielding fell to the ground.
They're dead.
Henry, a chubby kid with small eyes, stared at the headless corpses of the 3 level 3 goblins in shock.
They're dead.
He shouted instinctively when he saw that.
Dead.
Both William and Zishi reached Henry and saw the headless corpses of the goblins before they disappeared in red light, leaving behind many drops.
Who could kill level 3 goblins so easily?
William's eyes widened in shock, realizing he had only seen 3 beams of light before the goblins died.
Could it be?
Zishi looked at William suspiciously. William gritted his teeth, but he knew that only one person could pull off something like that.
Mox, come out.
William shouted, looking around.
Mox, come out. Mox, come out.
He shouted 2 more times, seeing no response, and was about to shout a 4th time when a figure appeared in front of him.
I heard you the first time. You don't have to shout like that.
Max said, looking at William with a sneer. 9 Max's display of power.
Max.
William shouted, pointing at him the moment Max showed his face.
Where were you the whole time we were fighting these goblins?
Max smiled and chuckled.
I was busy with something else.
He said, glancing at William, Zishi, and Henry.
It seems you guys hunted a lot of level 3 goblins to level up so fast.
He spoke, feeling a little odd. He had needed 3 level 3 goblin cores and countless level 2 goblin cores, and even then, he had to absorb a single level 4 goblin core just to reach level 2.
What are you talking about?
William frowned, looking at Max strangely.
We only used level 2 goblin cores to level from 1 to 2.
Max's eyes widened.
You didn't need level 3 goblin cores?
He asked in shock. He needed 3 of them, and even that wasn't enough.
It's true.
Zishi said, this time.
Apart from the 3 of us, there are others who also leveled up to 2, just with level 2 goblin cores, after we cleared the goblins at the entrance of the village.
Max nodded, frowning. He didn't understand why only he needed so many cores, and even some high-level ones, to level up to level 2 while others were good with only level 2 cores.
Forget about that.
William smiled confidently.
Max, I challenge you to a duel.
Zishi and Henry exchanged a look inside when they heard William. Max's shoulders drooped at the challenge.
How many times have you challenged me?
William's lips trembled, but he gritted his teeth and replied.
Including this, it's 344 times. And how many times have you won?
Max sneered. William clenched his fists.
None, but this time I'll definitely win. I'm sure of it. You've said that so many times it's become a cliché to me.
Max waved his hands dismissively.
You're persistent, I'll give you that. But I'll allow you to challenge me one last time after we clear all the goblins here. Don't forget your promise.
William said solemnly.
Yeah, I'll remember it.
Max said with a dismissive wave, his tone casual as he began to walk towards the group of students engaged in battle with the level 2 goblins. He paused for a moment, a smirk playing on his lips.
But first, let me put an end to this chaos.
He activated Swift Dash and appeared before the crowd. He didn't attack immediately. He watched the battle for a moment before looking around. His eyes landed on a unique structure in the middle of the village. It was 10 feet long, guarded by 4 level 3 goblin shamans who, despite the battle raging in the village, had stayed on guard, not participating in the fight. This should be good, he thought and dashed toward the building before appearing in front of it. He shot forward, releasing 4 bullets, each with the power of 3 magic bullets, at the 4 level 3 goblins who came charging toward him with gleaming swords as he approached the structure. Bang! 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 The 4 bullets struck the goblins, causing their heads to explode. Good. Max smiled, climbing to the top of the structure. From there, he surveyed the battlefield and observed the students struggling against the goblins. It's time to clean this up, he mused with a smile and activated his 3-dimensional body skill, firing magic bullets non-stop. Now that he had leveled up to level 2, his mana reserves were high enough to shoot 100 magic bullets continuously, and he intended to do just that.
What's he doing? Is he planning to kill the goblins from up there?
Henry muttered, watching Max fire magic bullets. William frowned at the sight.
Does he have such confidence in his aim that his bullets will only hit the goblins? I guess we'll find out in a few seconds.
Zishi said solemnly, watching Max. After a few moments, their expressions turned to shock. They watched in awe as magic bullets erupted from Max, streaking through the air with relentless precision. One after another, the glowing projectiles flew, cutting through the goblins with unerring accuracy, killing them before they could react.
How could this be?
William clenched his fists, watching the scene unfold. He couldn't believe how the distance between them had only grown after they entered the dungeon. He had thought he might break his losing streak here, but it was clear now he was wrong.
Damn, I've been chasing after a monster all this time.
He sighed and silently accepted his defeat. The sky above the battlefield soon seemed to come alive, filled with brilliant blue light. It was as if a storm of blue light descended, each radiant strike finding its mark with flawless precision, cutting down goblins one after another. In just a minute, the battlefield was silent, littered with the corpses of goblins. Then, without warning, a blinding red light surged across the battlefield, pulsing with an intensity that seemed to shake the very air. The glow radiated a strange, otherworldly energy, casting long, ominous shadows over the fallen goblins. However, just as suddenly as it appeared, the red light flickered and faded, leaving behind an unsettling calm.
It's done.
Max smiled, seeing that he had killed all the goblins with just one skill. Satisfied, he jumped down and collected the drops from the 4 level 3 goblins he had killed earlier.
Damn, Max, you're getting stronger than I ever imagined, even in my dreams.
William said as he approached with Zishi and Henry. Max only smiled and asked.
So, are there more level 3 goblins here?
He wanted to reach level 3 before heading to the boss room, and for some reason, he felt that only level 3 goblin cores could help him level up now.
We don't know.
Zishi replied, glancing at the battlefield.
When we came here, there were a total of 10 level 3 goblins, but that doesn't include the ones you've already killed. That few.
Max frowned.
The boss should be a level 5 monster, right? So there should be many more level 3 goblins out there in the dungeon. You're right.
William's shoulders drooped.
We're unlucky to have encountered a level 5 dungeon this time. It'll be very difficult to kill a level 4 boss, let alone a level 5 one.
A level 5 boss is indeed a huge problem, but not for me, Max thought, though he kept this to himself. He looked at the battlefield, wondering if absorbing all the level 2 cores would be enough to reach level 3.
By the way, have you seen Nevin?
Max asked the 3 of them.
Him.
William, Zishi, and Henry exchanged glances and shook their heads.
We've seen almost everyone from our academy in the dungeon, except Nevin.
10 assassin -1.
Only he wasn't seen.
Max frowned, a knot of concern tightening in his chest. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, something had happened to him. William, Zishi, and Henry knew exactly who Nevin was to Max, but none of them offered words of consolation. They understood the harsh reality of dungeon life, death could come for anyone, regardless of their bonds or status. Max took a deep breath and sighed before turning to William, Zishi, and Henry.
Let's clean this battlefield up and enter this building. I believe this building is the way to the boss room in the dungeon.
They nodded and asked everyone to collect all the cores from the battlefield. After that, some cores were distributed to the students who fought desperately against these goblins, while some were held by the trio themselves. They also gave a portion of the cores to Max along with the items came dropped from the goblins.
I suggest we increase our level to level 3 before heading into that structure.
Zishi said to Max and William.
Sure.
Max agreed with her before turning to look at all the students gathered around them. Turning to Zishi, he said solemnly.
I'm sure not everyone is needed in the boss room, so ask them not to follow us into the building when we're going inside, otherwise if they die, we couldn't be held responsible for their lives.
Zishi nodded. She had already planned to do that.
Good, I'm going to level up.
Max said smiling and requested.
Please, can you make it so that no one follows me there, even William and Henry?
Zishi frowned at the sudden request, but she nodded nonetheless. Max smiled and went away from the gathering of students and arrived somewhere far away in an isolated place. Looking around for one last time and finding no one around him, Max sat down and took out all the cores he had gotten after killing the goblins just now.
Most of them were level 2 cores, while 5 of them were level 3 cores.
He checked the cores and began absorbing them one by one in the hopes of getting to level 3. But as fate would have it, even after he absorbed all the level 2 cores and the 5 level 3 cores, he didn't level up to level 3.
Well, I've already knew I wouldn't level up, but seeing it turn into reality is cruel.
Max sighed and stood up. He looked into the cloudless green sky and felt a complicated emotion in his heart.
You can come out now,
he said lightly. But nothing happened.
I know you have been keeping an eye on me since I met with William and the others, so there is no point hiding now.
Max said, looking towards a certain direction.
Come out now.
Again, nothing seemed to happen, and most importantly, nobody came out. Seeing that, Max sighed and fired a magic bullet towards where he was looking. Just as the bullet was about to reach that point, a figure came out of nowhere and stood before Max.
How did you know I was here?
The figure asked with a faint smile, his messy black hair shifting in the wind, but his face couldn't be seen because he wore a black mask. Max gazed at him, his face filled with sneer.
I've known from the very beginning. Your timing was too perfect. You appeared just when I contacted with William and the others.
The masked figure smiled.
No wonder, you're the #1 genius of Horizon Academy, but it doesn't matter. You're going to die here.
Max looked at him and sneered.
With your level 4 strength, you're too naive to think you can kill me.
His tone turned solemn.
But before we battle, let me ask you something. Who sent you after me?
The masked figure took out a sword and began polishing its shining surface.
Let me think. Who was it? Someone from the Academy who got jealous of your talent? Or maybe someone who hated you? Or could it be that I'm here for revenge? I wonder which of these is true.
Max frowned as he also unsheathed his sword.
From your tone, it seems you're also from the Academy. So, if you can tell me which force sent you after me, I might spare you. Otherwise, only death awaits you. Ha!
The masked figure started laughing like a madman.
You think I don't know? I'm an assassin, so I know my job well.
He added.
Let me end you now.
With those words, he vanished into thin air. Max immediately activated his three-dimensional body skill and detected no one around him. He waited for the assassin's figure to close in on him, but just at that moment, a dagger came flying at him. It was too fast, but Max easily saw the trajectory of the dagger with his three-dimensional body. With one swift swing of his sword, he deflected the dagger, sending it flying away.
You're good.
The assassin's voice rang through the air, but Max still didn't see his figure. 11 Assassin, 2. Max frowned hearing the voice of the assassin but not detecting his figure. He is cautious, he thought. Despite being able to become invisible, or at least that was what seemed to Max, the assassin maintained some distance from him. Suddenly, the faintest whistling sound reached his ears, a dagger slicing through the air, hurtling toward him from his right. Without missing a beat, Max pivoted, his basic sword art activating in a fluid motion. His sword arced through the air with precision, deflecting the projectile effortlessly. The dagger spun away, embedding itself in the ground. Max's three-dimensional body allowed him to perceive every movement in his surroundings, giving him an edge over most opponents. Yet, the assassin's ability to mask his presence posed a unique challenge. Each attack seemed to come from a different direction, as if testing his defenses. The assassin's disembodied voice remarked, oozing with amusement.
But how long can you keep up?
Max didn't reply. His eyes narrowed, scanning the area for even the slightest distortion in the air. Another. His senses flared as another dagger shot toward him from behind. This time, it came faster, and the sharp hum of its flight was laced with killing intent. Max sidestepped and twisted his body, deflecting the blade with a flick of his sword. The moment the dagger was deflected, 3 more were launched in rapid succession, one from his left, another from his right, and the third from above. Max's movements were a blur as his sword danced through the air, intercepting each blade with perfect timing. Clang! 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 The sound of steel meeting steel echoed, but Max remained calm, his breathing steady.
Hiding won't save you.
Max called out, his voice steady yet carrying an edge of authority.
You're bold.
The assassin replied, his voice shifting positions as he spoke.
But boldness without caution leads to death.
Max's frown deepened. The assassin was skilled, his movements methodical, but Max could sense a pattern forming. Each attack came at intervals, as if the assassin was testing him while conserving energy. He's gauging my limits, Max thought. He adjusted his stance, gripping his sword tighter. The assassin attacked again, this time unleashing a flurry of daggers from multiple angles, aiming for Max's blind spots. Max's three-dimensional body illuminated the trajectories in his mind, and his sword moved like a shield, weaving a protective web around him. Sparks flew as blade met blade, the deflected daggers scattering across the battlefield. Max's patience wore thin.
Enough games,
he muttered, his tone cold. He planted his feet firmly, drawing upon the full power of his basic sword art.
I see you've been holding back.
The assassin chuckled, his voice no longer shifting. Max smirked. The voice's stability gave away the assassin's position, barely perceptible, but enough for Max to act. In a sudden burst of speed, Max lunged toward the source of the voice, his sword slashing horizontally. The blade cut through the air, forcing the assassin to reveal himself, if only for an instant. A figure in dark garb shimmered into view, his dagger raised to block Max's strike. Clang! The impact sent the assassin skidding back, but he recovered quickly, disappearing once more.
You're sharper than I expected.
The assassin admitted, his tone more cautious now. Max's smirk widened.
And you're not as invisible as you think.
The game of cat and mouse continued, but now the tide had shifted. Each time the assassin attacked, Max responded with greater precision, forcing him to reveal more of himself with every clash. He is invisible but nor from my three-dimensional body. I can't see him because he is maintaining a certain distance from me. Max mused, planning as he contemplated an attack against him. It's time to end this, Max thought, activating his swift dash to its maximum potential. His figure blurred, then vanished entirely, becoming one with the wind. In a heartbeat, Max reappeared directly in front of the assassin, his movement so swift it left faint ripples in the air. The tip of Max's finger glowed menacingly, a bullet of pure energy formed from the condensed might of 10 magic bullets, pulsating with deadly power.
Damn it!
The assassin cursed, his instincts flaring in alarm. Without hesitation, he flicked his wrist, summoning 5 daggers to form a defensive barrier in front of him, their metallic edges gleaming ominously. Bang! The energy bullet slammed into the daggers with a thunderous explosion. The force shattered the assassin's makeshift shield, sending the daggers hurtling in all directions like scattered leaves in a storm. Before the assassin could recover, a chilling sensation ran down his spine. He froze, realizing too late that Max had already appeared behind him, his swift dash leaving no room for escape.
Now talk, who sent you?
Max asked.
Believe me, you don't want to know.
the assassin said sneering. Max frowned as he increased the grip on his sword and forced it against the assassin's neck.
If you don't talk, then I can only kill you.
Max threatened. The assassin laughed.
What did I tell you before?
He asked.
I know I am assassin, and if I don't kill, then I'll be killed, so it doesn't matter if I die or not.
Max's frown deepened hearing him. 12 assassin, 3.
Moreover, it would do you no good if I'm injured, even a little bit.
The assassin said, his tone cold.
What do you mean?
Max asked, a bad feeling rising in his heart.
He means this.
Just then, 2 more figures appeared before Max. Seeing them caused Max's eyes to narrow. The 2 figures were another assassin and Nevin, his best friend, who was being held hostage by the assassin with a dagger pressed to Nevin's neck.
Max!
Nevin muttered, his voice weak, his eyes fearful, and blood could be seen leaking from his mouth.
Nevin!
Max felt a rage like nothing before as he saw Nevin being held hostage, but he forced himself to calm down, knowing that any mishap on his end might lead to Nevin's demise.
Let him go, and I will let Nevin go.
The second assassin said, smiling. Max glanced at Nevin and the assassin behind him, his expression solemn.
I just want to know who sent you, who is after me. Tell me that, and I will act like nothing happened here.
He said, as his left hand prepared a magic bullet composed of 10 magic bullets behind his back.
Ah.
The second assassin sneered.
Since you're so desperate, let me tell you. The overlord of the East region wants you dead. The Blades want you dead.
Max's eyes narrowed as he heard the word Blades, his expression turning serious. But just at that moment, he silently signaled his finger toward the second assassin. Wish. A bullet tore through the air so fast that it left behind a trail of blue light, piercing the head of the assassin holding Nevin hostage. In that same moment, Max stabbed the neck of the assassin he was holding with his sword, killing him as well.
No.
The second assassin couldn't believe his eyes. He had died just like that. His body fell, his back hitting the ground, but strangely, Nevin also fell with him.
Nevin!
Max shouted as he appeared and caught him before he hit the ground.
It's all right. You'll be fine.
He said to Nevin, but only then did he realize that Nevin's back was soaked in blood. His eyes seemed lifeless, and he appeared weak, as though he would die at any moment.
No.
Max quickly checked and saw a huge gaping hole in Nevin's back, causing him to fall into despair.
Max!
Nevin barely uttered a word before the light in his eyes faded, and he died.
Nevin!
With trembling hands, Max held his body tightly as tears flooded his eyes.
Blade family.
He muttered, his voice laced with venom. The name burned on his tongue, igniting a deep, unrelenting hatred that surged through his entire being.
I will kill them. I will kill every one of them.
His heart clouded with hatred of Blade family. It was a feeling unlike anything he had ever experienced, raw, consuming, and primal. Bloodlust swirled within him, dark and unyielding, paired with an insatiable urge to annihilate everything connected to the Blade family. Max clenched his fists hard and took a deep breath. He understood that rage wouldn't lead to anything but his downfall, and calmness was the only solution to everything. He would have his revenge, but for now he would have to act cautiously.
But I still need to become strong.
He muttered to himself as he came to his senses. He knew that only by having enough strength would he be able to knock on the doors of the Blade family.
If the disappearance of my sister is indeed related to the Blade family, then I'll definitely knock on their doors one day. There's no need to hurry about it.
He said to himself resolutely before putting Nevin's corpse in his storage space.
Let's kill the dungeon boss and be done with this dungeon.
He muttered before heading back to the others. Arriving before the other students, Max noticed that almost everyone had sat down a little way from the long structure, aside from those going for the boss monster.
What took you so long?
William immediately asked as soon as he spotted Max.
I forgot to check the time while training.
Max smiled embarrassedly and turned to look at Zishi and Henry, causing his expression to become a little strange.
Didn't you guys level up after absorbing the level 3 cores?
He asked, noticing that all 3 still appeared to be at level 2.
We didn't level up after absorbing all those level 2 cores and some level 3 cores.
Zishi said, contemplating.
I think one would need a lot of the same level of cores, if not higher, to level up, but I'm not sure. You mean if I want to increase to level 3, then I would need lots of level 3 cores for that.
Max said, pondering.
Doesn't that mean level 2 cores are useless for us? It's not useless. It's just that we need an even larger amount of level 2 cores if we want to level up with only level 2 cores.
William chimed in. Max nodded, finding it strange that the Academy books mentioned many things about dungeons and their workings but had no records of anything about leveling up.
Well, it doesn't matter anyway.
Max said to them with a smirk.
I'll handle the boss monster myself while you guys keep busy with its minions inside.
13 hardest no-rank dungeon.
Don't bite off more than you can chew.
William sneered at Max's remark.
While we know you're strong, the most you can handle is level 4. Level 5 is off the mark. We need a plan to deal with the boss monster, depending on the type we encounter.
Max smiled at William's words.
We'll see once we're inside.
He said, turning to look at the tall structure in front of him. From what he could determine, the 2 assassins he killed a while ago were at 4th level and Max had easily defeated them. This made Max speculate that his own strength lay somewhere between level 4 and level 5. However, he would need to fight the boss monster to see if he stood a chance against a level 5 opponent or not.
Let's get in.
Max said to the trio of William, Zishi, and Henry. The tall structure had a door, a tall, rusty door at one end. From the vines crawling on its surface, it seemed as though it hadn't been opened in ages. Max touched the door lightly, and it automatically swung open, revealing a long corridor with torches lining either side. The corridor appeared to be made of white tiles, which had gathered dust over time.
The corridor isn't long. I can see another door at the other end. That door must lead to the boss.
Zishi said, examining the corridor.
That means this corridor is a trap, full of monsters.
William frowned, coming to a conclusion. Max turned to the trio and said solemnly.
If this really turns out to be a corridor full of traps, then you guys have to listen to me before taking a single step inside. I have a way to track the traps.
The trio nodded in understanding.
All right then, let's enter.
Max said, taking the lead. He stepped first onto a dust-covered tile, activating his three-dimensional body to check if he had triggered a trap. After taking another step and walking ahead a little, he didn't notice anything resembling a trap.
Come in.
He called to William and the others behind him. They looked at each other and followed Max into the corridor. However, just as all three set foot inside, the door behind them closed automatically. Whoosh. 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 Whoosh, asterisk asterisk. 5 goblins appeared before them, each holding a stone knife.
5 level 1 goblins.
Max raised one of his brows in suspicion before firing 5 bullets from his hands. The bullets collided with the goblins, causing their bodies to explode.
5 level 1 goblins to stop us. This is very suspicious.
Zishi said, contemplating.
You're right. This is indeed suspicious.
Max agreed with her, adding his opinion.
If I'm not wrong, we'll face 5 level 2 goblins next, followed by 5 level 3 goblins, and then 5 level 4 goblins before we can reach the door at the end of the corridor. What? Are you kidding me?
William's expression became anxious.
Facing 5 level 3 goblins and worse, 5 level 4 goblins?
He clutched his head, thinking about fighting them, knowing it took all 3 of them to handle just one level 3 goblin.
We're done for.
He stammered in despair.
This is one of those rare, unique, no-rank dungeons where the difficulty is just beyond common sense.
Zishi's face also became solemn. They knew they could handle a level 5 monster if they worked together and had a solid plan, but facing 5 level 3 goblins and then 5 level 4 goblins together was even harder than a single level 5 goblin boss. This is some serious difficulty, Max thought, feeling both excited and pressured. He wasn't worried about the level 3 goblins, but the level 4 goblins were a different story. He recalled the level 4 goblin shaman he had seen in this dungeon and considered that if all the level 4 goblins turned out to be shamans, it would be a real challenge. Turning to the other 3, Max said assuredly.
Don't worry too much. This is just my assumption. If it does come true, then watch the show from the back.
The confidence in his tone baffled the other 3, but they could only nod at this point. Max took the lead and headed forward. Just before they reached the midpoint of the corridor, 5 more goblins appeared before them. This time, their strength was at level 2.
It seems my assumption was correct.
He chuckled wryly. For once, he had hoped to be wrong.
You just had to open your big mouth.
William grumbled in annoyance.
Yeah, I had to.
Max laughed.
Huh, you.
William clenched his fists and rolled up his sleeves as if ready to go all out against Max. Max eyed him and chuckled with a sneer.
We still have a fight due. Do you want to settle here?
He provoked.
Do you think I fear you just because you're stronger than me?
William immediately drew his sword.
Stop it, you two.
Zishi intervened just in time.
This isn't the time for that.
She said solemnly to both of them.
I know.
Max nodded to her and then sneered at William.
I was just joking. Don't worry, I won't add to your losses anymore. HHH, I'll defeat you today, once and for all.
William shouted, going berserk after Max's last taunt.
I wonder what the dean will think if I report this situation to him.
Zishi said with a subtle smile.
Dean? Father?
William immediately snapped to his senses.
What are you talking about, Zishi? We're just heading to the boss room, and Max is helping us, isn't he?
He said as though nothing had just happened.
Huh.
Max chuckled and fired 5 magic bullets at the incoming level 2 goblins. Like before, the goblins didn't stand a chance, their bodies exploding into pieces.
Take these cores as well.
Max said, turning to them.
Also, the cores from the 5 level 3 and 5 level 4 goblins will be mine.
He looked at them for objections.
Why? Why would you take all the good ones?
William protested. A smirk appeared on Max's face.
If I reach level 3, I have a 50% chance of one-shotting the level 5 boss.
William's eyes widened.
Are you kidding me?
He couldn't believe what he had just heard. No one had ever claimed to one-shot a boss monster.
50% sure.
Zishi considered the option. If Max could really one-shot the boss, it was better than them fighting a grueling battle against it. She looked at Max and suggested.
How about this? You take all these cores and do what you said just now. However, we'll take whatever the boss drops.
Max contemplated her condition and added.
Just give me the skill if one drops. You guys are rich and can get any skills you want, but the poor me has to work hard to get one. Fine.
Zishi agreed to the deal.
You take the skill, and we'll take everything else. Then we have a deal.
Max laughed and headed further down the corridor. Moments later, 5 level 3 goblins appeared before them. 14 C-rank versatile fighter.
I wonder how one would normally clear this dungeon if a team doesn't have someone like me.
Max thought aloud as he shot another 5 magic bullets, formed by combining 2 magic bullets each, at the 5 level 3 goblins. 5 blue beams shot toward the goblins and struck them. The result? They ended up in the same state as the previous ones. The magic bullets tore chunks from their bodies, killing them instantly.
There should have been other level 3 and level 4 goblins outside we could have missed outside. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense for this dungeon to be this insanely difficult.
Zishi voiced her opinion.
What if this dungeon was designed to be this way?
William said as he looked around.
Whatever it is, you guys are lucky I'm here, or you'd all be screwed.
Max chuckled with slight arrogance as he began collecting the cores from the 5 goblins he had just killed. After that, he turned to the other three and warned.
I have a feeling the level 4 goblins will include goblin shamans capable of long-range attacks. You guys should prepare yourselves, as I'll dodge their attacks if they strike as soon as they spawn. At that point, it'll be you facing those attacks. Goblin shamans? All 5 of them.
William cried out in fear, turning to Max with a pleading expression.
Max, are you sure you can handle them quickly? Why don't you take some time to absorb these level 3 cores first? Maybe you'll level up to level 3 and then handle the shamans?
Max looked at William with amusement.
Don't worry so much. I'll handle them just fine.
He said confidently, adding.
Even if I absorb these 5 level 3 cores, I wouldn't level up, so it's fine. What do you mean you won't level up after absorbing these level 3 cores?
William questioned.
You've already absorbed some before, so absorbing these should guarantee you'll level up.
Max sighed and sat down on the path.
All right, I'll absorb them for you.
He pulled out the 5 level 3 cores he had just stored and began absorbing them one by one. One by one, the cores turned to dust. After absorbing all 5, no notification of a level up appeared in his vision. Disappointed, he stood up and turned to William.
Happy now. Ow.
William was shocked beyond disbelief. He couldn't fathom how someone who had absorbed almost 10 level 3 cores still failed to level up from level 2 to level 3.
How can you not level up after taking so many level 3 cores?
Zishi asked, equally stunned. Max shrugged.
I don't know.
He genuinely didn't know.
I've heard my father say that when hunters near the limits of their class rank, their progression to higher levels slows down drastically. At that point, they need a lot more cores and some other treasures to level up, even once.
Zishi explained, looking at Max. Max arched his brows. While he knew the class rank determined one's potential in this world, he hadn't realized that progression slowed as one approached the limits of their rank. Well, it makes sense. The higher the rank, the smoother the progress, he mused.
Max, what rank is your class?
William asked, clutching Max's shoulder.
You should know it's bad manners to ask someone their class rank.
Max said, brushing William's hand off his shoulder.
But since you're my friends, I don't mind telling you. Just don't tell anyone else.
William, Zishi, and the usually silent Henry listened attentively.
It's a...
Max paused for suspense.
It's a C-rank versatile fighter class.
All 3 were stupefied.
What? How can that be?
William exclaimed in disbelief. He couldn't believe someone so strong had the same class rank as them.
Are you lying?
Zishi asked, narrowing her eyes. Max shrugged.
Why would I lie? If I had a higher rank class, I wouldn't be struggling to level up.
Though he said this, Max himself was unsure of why he needed so many high-level cores to level up. He suspected it had something to do with his class, but he wasn't entirely sure.
All right, I'll move ahead, so prepare yourself for the level 4 goblin shamans.
Max said solemnly. The trio nodded as Henry stepped to the front with his massive shield, which was even larger than him. He planted it in front while William and Zishi took cover behind him.
We're ready,
Zishi said. Max nodded at them.
All right, I'm heading forward.
He walked ahead. Nothing happened at first, but just as he approached the door ahead, 5 figures spawned in front of him. To his surprise, not all were goblin shamans. At least 2 were. Among the other 3, one held a bow, another an axe, and the last a sword. As soon as they noticed Max, they rushed toward him with their weapons while the shamans and archer attacked from a distance. Max also sprang into action, shooting 3 magic bullets infused with the firepower of 4 bullets each at the 2 shamans and the archer. The bullets tore through the air as the 2 shamans fired lightning bolts and the archer loosed an arrow. However, the magic bullets, reinforced by 4-fold power, destroyed their attacks before reaching the goblins, blowing their heads off. Max then unsheathed his sword and used swift dash to appear behind the axe-wielding goblin. In one swift motion, he swung his sword diagonally, cutting it in half before it could react. He reappeared in front of the sword-wielding goblin and thrust his blade at lightning speed. Bang! His sword pierced the goblin's head before its weapon could strike, and moments later, its body collapsed.
It's done,
Max said, turning to the others.
Not all of them were goblin shamans, as it turns out.
He sighed.
Why do you sound disappointed by that?
William asked. Max smirked.
Because I was looking forward to fighting 5 level 4 goblin shamans at once. You demon.
William cried in shock. He couldn't help but feel this monster of a man was his true rival, the one he had been chasing for 5 years at the academy.
Let me absorb the cores and level up.
Max said, eyeing the 5 cores left behind by the goblins. He sat down and began absorbing them one by one, hoping to finally reach level 3. 15 Goblin Sword Master. After absorbing the last level 4 core, the notification for the level up finally came. Congratulations to Max Voidwalker for leveling up to level 3 of novice rank. Max sighed in relief as the notification appeared before his eyes. He had started to doubt whether he would level up at all after absorbing 3 level 4 cores with no result whatsoever. Good, I feel a lot stronger than before, he mused and checked his status. Max. Rank, Novice. Level, 3. Class, Dimensional Keeper. Physique, 5.5. Soul, 6.6. Energy, 8. Skills. Class skills, 3-dimensional body, dimension of time. Acquired skills, magic bullets, LVL, 13, basic sword arts, LVL, 20, swift dash, LVL, 1. According to this, every increase in level raises my physique stat by 0.5, soul stat by 0.2, and energy stat by 1. Max contemplated as he examined his stats. Previously, he felt his stats were increasing at a very low rate, but the boost in strength at each level was substantial. He could feel he had become a lot stronger than when he was at level 2. I can at least fire around 200 magic bullets now, Max thought before turning his attention to the use of these stats. My energy stat should be the amount of mana inside me. He mused, though he still had no idea how to use his soul and physique stats effectively. They were just there on his status screen like useless numbers. I'll have to figure out something after I finish with the dungeon, he planned before turning to William, Zishi, and Henry, who were patiently waiting for him.
I'm done,
he said, standing up.
Alright, let's go kill this stupid boss of the dungeon. I'm so done with it,
William said impatiently.
He about that.
Max coughed and said.
How about you guys stay here while I take care of the boss, all alone inside? What if it summons its minions?
Zishi asked, her tone a little suspicious.
Don't worry, I won't gamble my life for nothing.
Max waved his hands dismissively and added.
You guys can come in once I'm done with the boss, and collect the items it drops. Fine then.
Zishi contemplated for a moment and agreed. Even if they went inside, they were only tasked with handling the minions. If Max could take care of everything on his own, there was no real need for them to enter the boss room. They would only be obstacles for him, if anything. Max appreciated her cooperative nature.
Thanks for this. Wait for my return,
he said to Zishi. He then touched the door in front of him and disappeared from their sight. Max appeared in a circular chamber of some sort. The terrain was uneven, with broken pillars, raised platforms, and deep pits scattered across the ground.
GHHH.
He spotted the boss monster of the dungeon. Looking ahead, he saw a goblin, not just any goblin, but one with a buffed-up body and muscular biceps. It was at least twice as tall as Max and carried a long sword on its shoulder.
GHHH.
Seeing Max appear in its lair, the goblin growled in rage.
It's a goblin swordmaster,
Max exclaimed in shock. Goblin swordmasters were among the strongest bosses one could encounter in no-rank dungeons, with strength at the upper echelons, even at level 5. In short, this monster was one of the toughest bosses one could face in a no-rank dungeon. He smiled, feeling the excitement course through his veins. Previously, he was disappointed with the level 4 goblins, but now all that disappointment was replaced by pure adrenaline and excitement.
I planned to finish the boss in one shot, but it seems I'll have to change my plan a little,
Max muttered as he drew his sword, preparing for a hefty battle. It wasn't that he couldn't kill the goblin swordmaster in one shot, he could, easily. The power contained in combining all 13 magic bullets into one would be enough to decimate this poor thing into oblivion. But that wasn't what he wanted. His goal in fighting the goblin swordmaster was to sharpen his mastery of the sword. The goblin swordmaster, as its name suggested, was a master swordsman, and fighting against it would surely enhance his own swordsmanship. Moreover, where else would Max find such a worthy opponent whose strength matched his? This was a perfect opportunity, and he wasn't going to let it slip away.
Come.
Max beckoned with his hand.
Gore.
The goblin swordmaster growled in anger after being provoked and stormed toward him. Max smiled as he dashed forward to meet it. Once they were face to face, the goblin slashed downward with all its strength.
Using full strength from the beginning, I see.
Max muttered in excitement as the wind from the swing of the goblin's longsword reached him.
Then I'll use my full strength too.
He smiled crazily, attacking with an upward slash, his sword rising to meet the goblin's longsword. Clang! The resounding clash of metal against metal reverberated throughout the chamber, sending sparks flying in all directions. Both Max and the goblin were pushed back several steps.
It's strong,
Max muttered, feeling the slight pain in his hands as he gripped the sword. If not for his high mastery of the sword, he would have been completely overwhelmed.
Again.
He dashed forward, slashing his sword downward. The goblin didn't retreat, rushing forward with its own weapon to counter his attack. Clang! Their weapons collided, sending them flying back, but they weren't satisfied. They surged at each other again, their blades meeting in a storm of rapid, brutal exchanges. Clang! 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 One clash led to another, the sharp, thunderous strikes echoing across the battlefield like a relentless drumbeat. 1 round, 2 rounds, 5, 10. Their blades collided again and again, each strike faster, fiercer, and more calculated than the last. Sparks erupted with every blow, painting the air with fleeting bursts of light as the battle intensified. Max found himself lost in the fight, the rhythm of the clash drawing him deeper into its flow. His muscles burned, his breath came faster, but he grinned, a genuine, unrestrained grin. The goblin, snarling with equal determination, met him strike for strike, its ferocity unmatched yet strangely exhilarating. For a while, the only sounds filling the chamber were the sharp, relentless echoes of metal clashing against metal. Each strike rang out like a bell, reverberating through the air and bouncing off the cold, unyielding walls. The rhythmic collision created an almost haunting melody, a reflection of the ferocity of the battle unfolding. As their blades clashed once more, something began to stir in Max's mind. Amid the chaos of their duel, a pattern emerged. Each strike, each parry, each feint, there was a rhythm to it, a flow he hadn't noticed before. A deeper understanding of combat itself began to take root. The realization hit him like a bolt of lightning. He wasn't just fighting anymore, he was learning, evolving with each exchange. His movements grew sharper, his strikes more precise.
Gore!
The goblin seemed to sense the change and roared, doubling its efforts. Max welcomed the challenge, his grin widening as their duel became even more intense. 16 Sword Aura. The clash of steel against steel echoed through the chamber, each strike louder and more deliberate than the last. But after what felt like an eternity, they both retreated. That was fun, but I feel like it's not enough. Max's grip on his sword tightened as he looked at the goblin swordmaster and taunted.
You weak little piece of shit. Have you not eaten anything or what? Your moves are so weak and dull that even a 5-year-old little kid could handle them. Gore.
The goblin growled loudly as if it understood Max's words and lunged with unbridled fury, its blade slicing through the air with lethal intent. Max didn't know if his taunting worked or not, but he accomplished what he intended to do. Focusing on the raging goblin, he sidestepped, the goblin's blade missing him by a hair's breadth, and countered with a precise upward slash. Sparks flew as their swords collided, illuminating their faces in fleeting bursts of light. Max's pink eyes burned with focus, and the faintest smile tugged at the corner of his lips. The goblin seemed to feel the smile on Max's lips, and it became more enraged.
Growling.
It roared loudly and sent a flurry of sword strikes hurtling in Max's directions like shadows of swords. There were a total of more than 10 sword strikes mixed on just one attack. Max's eyes widened. Damn, this attack. The sword shadows blurred into a deadly storm, their sharp edges glinting like shards of glass caught in a tempest. He knew in an instant that a single misstep would mean certain death.
3-dimensional body.
He shouted, activating his most trusted skill. The world around him sharpened, in that moment, every movement of the goblin's sword slowing just enough for him to perceive the intricacies of its attack. What had seemed like chaotic shadows became clear, 30 distinct sword strikes, each imbued with lethal intent. If I can see this, then I can block it. Max tightened his grip on his blade. His breathing steadied as he synchronized his movements with the goblin's assault. Clang. The first strike collided with his sword, the impact sending vibrations up his arms. Clang. Clang. He blocked 2 more, his footwork keeping him just out of reach of the others. Just like that, he began to block the sword shadows coming at him. When a strike came too fast to counter, Max's feet moved in a series of sharp, precise steps. His body twisted and turned at odd angles, narrowly avoiding the goblin's sword shadows. The goblin growled, its frustration evident as its strikes became wilder, more forceful. But Max was no longer just reacting, he was adapting. Each parry came smoother than the last, each dodge more intuitive. His sword seemed to move of its own accord, anticipating the goblin's next move. Clang. 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 With every exchange, Max's strikes grew more refined. His footwork became a graceful dance, each step perfectly calculated to exploit an opening or evade an attack. The rhythm of their duel resonated deep within him, a symphony of chaos that he could feel inside him. He didn't know what it was, but he could feel something bubbling up inside of him. After some moments, he became so proficient in blocking the flurry of attacks Goblin used that with a single downward slash, he destroyed the entire attack in one go. The goblin snarled, its emerald eyes glowing with primal rage. It swung its blade in a wide arc, aiming to overwhelm Max with sheer power. Max met the attack head-on, the force of their collision sending a shockwave through the chamber. Bang! Max slid back a few feet, his shoes scraping against the stone floor. He exhaled sharply, but his grin never faltered. It was then he noticed something. His sword felt different, lighter, sharper, and almost alive. A faint blue hue began to shimmer along its edge, pulsating in sync with his heartbeat.
This is new.
Max muttered to himself, his voice laced with excitement.
Gore.
The goblin charged again, its roar reverberating like thunder. It appeared in front of Max again and attacked. Max pivoted, dodging the overhead swing with a swift roll to the side. He sprang to his feet and launched into a relentless counterattack. Just as they were once again locked in combat, Max's sword began to glow brighter with every clash with the goblin. Clang. 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 Each strike carried a strange energy, a force that resonated beyond the physical realm. Max felt it building within him, a wellspring of power surging through his veins and into his blade. It was as though the sword was absorbing the essence of the battle itself, feeding on the intensity of their duel. The goblin growled, sensing the shift in momentum. It swung wildly, but After that, Max looked around at the boss monster's drops, his gaze catching sight of the very thing he had been hoping to find. It was a skill scroll. He picked it up and read the name on it.
Flurry Strike, rare. It's a rare rank skill.
Max was astounded. Throughout the entire dungeon, he had only encountered common-level items and skills, but the boss monster had dropped a rare rank skill. Max smiled giddily but didn't immediately learn the skill. He first went to the door of the boss room and touched it. The door swung open, revealing the anxious faces of William, Zishi, and Henry.
Max, what took you so long?
William asked as soon as Max emerged from the boss chamber. Max smiled wryly. How could he explain that he had been having a fun battle with the dungeon's boss monster? They would probably think he'd gone mad.
Max, you have an explanation to give.
Zishi said, her expression solemn.
You told us you'd one-shot it and be done in a moment, but it took you half an hour to come out of the boss room.
Max sighed and shrugged.
I don't know if I overestimated my ability or underestimated the level 5 Goblin Swordmaster, but in the end, I managed to kill it. So no worries, folks. Everything's just fine. Goblin Swordmaster? You encountered a Goblin Swordmaster.
Zishi lost her composure upon hearing Max.
They're said to be one of the strongest monsters in Awakening or no-rank dungeons across the world.
Max smiled at her stunned reaction and played along.
That's why it took me so long to kill it. My bullets were all deflected by its swords, so I had to fight in both close combat and at range before I managed to kill it. But even that took a lot of planning and scheming.
His expression turned serious as he added.
It's a good thing you guys didn't join. Otherwise, I might not have been able to protect you all.
Zishi nodded and sighed. She hadn't expected a no-rank dungeon to be so dangerous for them.
Alright, let me show you what the boss monster dropped.
Max smiled as he led them into the boss chamber.
So many items.
William's eyes shone brilliantly as he stared unblinkingly at the scattered loot.
A goblin swordmaster is bound to leave such drops.
Zishi commented. Max smiled, pulling out the skill scroll.
This is mine as promised.
Zishi glanced at the scroll and waved her hand dismissively.
Go ahead and take it. Good.
Max chuckled, opening the scroll and touching it with his hand. The scroll glowed with a blue light before vanishing. Congratulations to Max Voidwalker for obtaining the skill, Flurry Strike. Flurry Strike. Rank, Rare. Level, 0. Description: Flurry Strike unleashes a barrage of rapid, consecutive attacks in a dazzling display of speed and precision. The user channels their energy to accelerate their movements, allowing them to deliver multiple strikes in the blink of an eye.
Sweet.
Max smiled excitedly as he checked the skill's description. If I'm not wrong, this is the same skill the Goblin Swordmaster used on me, he mused.
We should leave now.
Zishi suggested.
We have only about an hour before the portal closes.
Max nodded and sighed.
If only no-ranked dungeons had mana crystals. Mana crystals can only be found in ranked dungeons, so stop dreaming.
Zishi said as she headed for the door.
Hey wait.
Max called.
I have something I want you three to promise.
William, Zishi, and Henry stopped at Max's words.
I know you want us to stay silent about your strength, so don't worry. We're not going to snitch.
Zishi said with a smile.
Ah, good.
Max smiled and hugged them all.
Now let's leave this dungeon.
18 joining a guild? Outside the portal, many parents and guardians of the kids who had entered the dungeon waited patiently for their return, joined by academy staff and the military. Suddenly, kids began to emerge from the portal one by one, causing the waiting crowd to sigh in relief.
They're here. They've done it. We'll have another batch of fresh hunters in our Crestford City. This is good, but the top guilds in Crestford City will likely snatch up the best ones. There are many geniuses this time, so I think we'll be fine.
People began congratulating each other as the kids came out of the dungeon one after another. Some aimed to recruit them into their guilds, while others sought to establish connections. However, there were also those who didn't see their children's faces emerging from the portal. Dungeons worldwide had high mortality rates, and even though a no-rank dungeon typically had a lower risk, safety was never guaranteed. Deaths and injuries were an unavoidable reality of dungeon exploration.
Everyone.
Sean, the dean of Horizon Academy, addressed the kids upon stepping before them.
You did well. Even though a no-rank dungeon isn't particularly difficult, this was your first dungeon dive, and you cleared it successfully.
He paused before continuing.
But, as you all know, some of your friends and classmates didn't make it. They died. While it's harsh to say, the mortality rates in ranked dungeons are far higher than in no-rank dungeons. So, choose your guilds wisely. They will become your new homes from now on.
The kids nodded solemnly. Soon after, members of various guilds surrounded them.
Max Morgan, join our Crescent Fire Guild. It's the best fit for geniuses like you. No, join our Wave Wizards Guild. It's the top guild in the city. Westeria Guild excels in combat. Join us, and we'll offer you many benefits. We'll give you 100 mana crystals every month if you join our 100 Wild Guild. Only 100? Our Warlock Guild will offer you 300 mana crystals monthly if you join us.
The top guilds of Crestford City surrounded the group of geniuses, all vying for Max's attention. Max smiled wryly, glancing around as the crowd swarmed him. He wasn't the only one getting this treatment. Every kid coming out of the portal was met with similar enthusiasm, but the crowd was thickest around him.
Can I say something?
Max asked.
Of course you can.
A small spherical device, about the size of a fist, floated in front of him. A voice emerged from it.
This is a two-way microphone. Say whatever you'd like.
Max smiled and spoke.
Actually, I didn't do that well in the dungeon. William was the one who supported everyone and killed the boss monster. Without him, it would have been a far more difficult challenge.
Everyone froze at Max's words. Even William was stunned, silently cursing Max for suddenly spouting such nonsense. He shot Max a questioning look. Max smiled and winked at Zishi, who stood beside William. Zishi sighed, understanding Max's intention. She grabbed a similar microphone and added.
It's true. William is the MVP of this dungeon. Without him, we wouldn't have cleared it so quickly or effectively.
The crowd buzzed with surprise at her statement. If Max's words seemed unbelievable to most, Zishi's carried weight. As the daughter of General Zane Foster, her opinion held significant credibility.
Zishi, what are you talking about?
William whispered anxiously.
Just go with the flow. Max is giving you his chance. Don't waste it.
Zishi replied softly, though her words weighed heavily on William. Damn you, Max. William cursed silently, gritting his teeth. He understood Zishi's implication. Max was relinquishing his opportunity for him. While he felt it was unfair, he couldn't deny the gesture.
What are you hesitating for?
Zishi whispered again.
This is your chance. Max will likely join a guild in the core region anyway, so don't let his sacrifice go to waste.
Realization dawned on William, and his hesitation melted away. I owe him big time. He turned his attention to the crowd, a faint smile on his face.
Don't listen to Max and Zishi. I just did what seemed best at the moment.
William said vaguely, neither confirming nor denying their claims.
William, are you willing to join our Westeria Guild? No, join our Crescent Fire Guild. It's best for you.
The guild members, who had previously swarmed Max, now turned their attention to William, leaving Max alone. Max sighed in relief, knowing he had achieved his goal. He already had a guild in mind, one that hadn't sent representatives to this recruitment event.
Are you sure about this?
Zishi asked, appearing beside him.
I am.
Max replied, glancing at the bustling crowd.
I'll leave the inner circle sooner or later. It's better to give this chance to someone who'll use it better than me.
Zishi nodded before asking.
And what guild are you planning to join?
Max smiled.
That's where you come in. Me? What does this have to do with me?
Zishi frowned, then her eyes narrowed as realization struck.
You want my father to recommend you to a core region guild with branches in the inner circle? Smart as always.
Max said, nodding.
But you're too weak for that right now.
Zishi retorted, her frown deepening.
Only those at the peak of novice rank, level 10, are eligible for recommendations, and even then, they have to be the best in the city. You don't need to worry about that.
Max said confidently.
Just ask your father when and where the evaluation for recommendations will take place.
Zishi stared at Max with narrowed eyes before sighing.
Your confidence always baffles me. Which guild are you aiming for, anyway? Phoenix Order Guild.
Max replied wryly. Zishi's eyes widened in shock.
Phoenix Order? Have you lost your mind? That's one of the strongest guilds in the Eastern region. Their recruitment tests are notoriously difficult and brutal. I know. That's why I need your help.
Max admitted, sighing.
I need a recommendation just to participate in their recruitment test, and only your father, as the general of Crestford City, can provide that.
Zishi's expression turned serious.
I can't promise anything, but I'll talk to my father and see what he says. I'll contact you within a week if there's any news. All right, and thanks. I'll leave now.
Max nodded, turning to leave.
Don't forget to message me.
He added before disappearing into the crowd. Zishi watched him go, sighing deeply. She couldn't tell if Max was overconfident or reckless. It seems he already has his future planned, to find his sister. She sighed lightly, lost in thought. 19 Research and Training. Max stood before a Z-shaped building where a red laser-like imprint scanned his entire body.
Max Morgan, 04 confirmed.
After the scan was completed, the door opened, and he walked in. Max went directly to take a bath before doing anything else. He smelled like goblins all the way. It didn't take long for him to finish bathing. He wore a white t-shirt with a dark blue shirt and pants. After combing his hair, he immediately arrived at his computer. His computer was a small circular device placed on the table, with 2 red and blue buttons on it. Max pushed the blue button, causing a holographic screen to appear above the device. The holographic display didn't seem like a hologram at all. Instead, it resembled a monitor or other output devices used to display data. Moments later, a holographic keyboard appeared on the table.
If I want to join the Phoenix Order Guild, which is a fire elemental guild, then I need to have a skill related to fire.
Max murmured as he searched the extranet for an F-rank fire elemental dungeon that could provide fire-related skills. A list appeared in his vision with the names of several F-rank dungeons. Salamander Cave, F-rank. Ghost Fire Jungle, F-rank. Burning Wilds, F-rank. Flaming Sea, F-rank. Max checked the details of every dungeon and found that only Burning Wilds had a secret chamber where a fire-related skill could be obtained. Even so, it was a long shot, as it had been years since anyone found the secret chamber in the Burning Wilds dungeon.
With my 3-dimensional body skill, I can find a secret chamber. So, this is the best choice for me.
Max decided as he evaluated the other options.
If push comes to shove, I'll go for the boss rank monster. It should drop a fire elemental skill too.
He could buy a fire elemental skill if he had any uni left, but all the money his parents and sister had left him had been used up. Now, he only had a few hundred uni, which he knew wouldn't be enough for a skill. I need at least 1,000 uni for that. Max sighed and finalized his next dungeon.
I can also earn some money and get a skill from this F-rank dungeon. Before heading into the Burning Wilds dungeon, let's level up every skill to level 100.
Max smiled in excitement. He couldn't wait to see what level of strength he could achieve with every skill at level 100.
Let's see. Swift Dash, Basic Sword Arts, Magic Bullets, and Flurry Strike.
He muttered softly.
These are the 4 skills I need to level up. If I spend 2 days on each skill, I should be done within a week.
Max planned an intense retreat for the entire week. Alright, it doesn't matter if I go mad or not, I will train for a whole week continuously in the dimension of time. Max clenched his fists in determination. But first, let me eat something and prepare food for the whole week. A week wasn't a short time, but it wasn't long either. It passed quickly as the sun set and rose a few times. For Max, however, this week had been hell. Except for basic human needs, he had spent nearly 168 years training in his dimension of time. He trained, and trained some more. But it wasn't easy. He almost lost himself several times in the soundless, colorless white world where only he seemed to exist. The emptiness of the place drove him to the brink of madness. Sometimes, he forgot why he was training and wandered aimlessly for days before regaining his senses. While at times, he would find himself just staring at the white abyss before him blankly. It was incredibly difficult for him to endure 168 years in such a place. It was his first time training for so long, and he almost regretted it. The experience severely tested his perseverance and resolve. Yet, he didn't give up, continuing with his goal of becoming stronger and finding his sister and family.
I almost went mad in there.
Max muttered, shuddering at the memory. He couldn't imagine what would have happened if he had been lost forever, unable to find his way back. Still, a smile graced his face. He had successfully accomplished what he had planned for the week, making all his hard work feel worthwhile. All my skills are now at level 100, Max thought excitedly as he opened his status. Max. Rank, Novice. Level, 3. Class, Dimensional Keeper. Physique, 5.5. Soul, 6.6. Energy, 8. Skills. Class skills, 3-dimensional body, dimension of time. Acquired skills, Magic Bullets, LVL, 100, Basic Sword Arts, LVL, 100, Swift Dash, LVL, 100, Flurry Strike, LVL, 100. Comprehensions, Sword Aura, LVL, 1.
It's so satisfying to see all my skills at level 100.
Max chuckled, though one row displayed a glaring level 1.
Swaktoha.
He muttered. He had spent a year training in Sword Aura, but he saw little progress in that area. Instead, it was his improved mastery of basic sword arts that brought an unexpected breakthrough. With each step forward in his swordsmanship, he felt his control over Sword Aura increase significantly, as if the two were intrinsically linked. He drew his sword and held it aloft. In an instant, it was covered in a light blue glow. His mastery of Sword Aura had improved to the point that he could activate it instantly.
But its rank is still only level 1.
Max sighed. He deduced that Sword Aura probably had very few levels, with each increase being far more significant than those of other skills.
Though I did learn a trick or two on how to effectively use Sword Aura other than using in close combat.
He muttered.
If only its level was high, I could do much more than that.
With so much time in the dimension of time, he managed to skillfully learn how to use the Sword Aura effectively, but he always felt he had been doing something wrong, like he was missing something very important.
But that doesn't matter. I'll learn more about Sword Aura after I join the Phoenix Order Guild.
Max murmured. He had received a message from Zishi 2 days ago, confirming that Zishi's father would recommend him if he passed the test. The Phoenix Order Guild will start recruiting geniuses at the beginning of next month, and Zishi mentioned her father summoned me at the end of this month, he thought. I still have 20 days left. I'll rest today and head to the Burning Wilds dungeon tomorrow, Max decided before going to bed, even though it was only 10 o'clock in the morning. 20 Outer Circle. Max was seated on a train that floated just above the tracks and shot into the distance. The interior of the train resembled any other, with many people seated beside him on either side. He had taken the train because the Burning Wilds dungeon was situated in the outer circle of the East region. The entire East region could be summed up in 3 main regions. The first was the outer circle, where Max was headed. It was the most chaotic place in the entire region. Many, if not all, kinds of dungeons could be found there, regardless of rank, making the area highly suitable for hunters. Because of this, each of the top guilds and other powers had built a base of operations in this region, while the Union Vanguard, the military or government organization, held the highest authority here. Due to the abundance of dungeons, the outer circle hadn't been developed much. Deep forests, deserts, and other untamed terrains dominated the landscape. Worst of all, humans hadn't fully explored the area, making it the most dangerous place in the East region. However, the sheer number of dungeons also made it the most popular region in the East. Meanwhile, the area where Max lived fell under the jurisdiction of the Inner Circle. This region could be described as the most basic place in the East region. Excluding the top families and guilds, most people called the Inner Circle home. Essentially, the Inner Circle was where the majority of the population resided, given its proximity to the Outer Circle and the rarity of dungeon appearances within it. Even the few dungeons that did appear were of low rank and were usually handled by either the top guilds, the Hunter Association, or the local branch of the Union Vanguard stationed there. The train has reached Badlum district of the Inner Circle. It will stop here for 10 minutes before departing.
That's my stop.
Max stood up and exited the train. What greeted him was a dense forest, with tall trees and vines hanging from their branches. Max surveyed the area and noticed numerous paths leading into the forest, each in a different direction. He also observed several other people nearby. Some were seated in the resting area or at the station, while others formed groups of 3 or 4, discussing their plans. Seeing this, Max brought his left arm closer and tapped on his wristband. A green holographic screen floated above his arm, casting a faint glow on his face. He tapped the screen a few times, and it transformed into a map marked with 2 symbols, a triangular marker and a red dot.
It's good that the map to the Burning Wilds was free.
Max muttered softly.
So, the triangular marker is me, and the red dot is the Burning Wilds dungeon. The yellow path among the various white paths should be the one I follow. Let's head in then.
He smiled, took out a circular disc, and threw it to the ground. Before it could touch the surface, it transformed into a hoverboard. Max jumped onto the hoverboard and flew away following the path displayed on his holowatch. Along the way, he noticed many others heading in the same direction, though their modes of transportation varied. While many used hoverboards, the majority relied on vehicles provided by the Union Vanguard. These were large enough to accommodate at least 30 people but required a significant sum of money to use. For Max, the hoverboard was the best option, given his lack of funds and his proficiency in using it. If an unforeseen situation arose, he could escape quickly. Some time later, Max arrived at a large crowd. This is the place, he thought as he dismounted and stowed away the hoverboard. He moved closer to the crowd. Dungeons could be explored multiple times, but Max didn't know the specifics of this one. He had scheduled his entry for 12 o'clock sharp, meaning many others would also be entering the dungeon to clear it. He checked the time and saw he still had half an hour before his party was set to enter. Deciding not to rush, he approached the portal. That's when he noticed the portal's perimeter was surrounded by people in military attire. A group of them stood at a distance, observing the crowd.
A lot of people have gathered for the dungeon.
Max muttered, noting the large number of people waiting to enter the Burning Wilds. As he scanned the crowd, his attention was drawn to a group making their way toward the portal. They appeared to be in their 20s, and all 5 members stood out for their strength at level 10 of the novice rank. Max was surprised. All 5 of them are at level 10 of the novice rank. They must be experts, he thought.
Look, the bouncer squad is here. I heard they're very efficient with F-rank dungeons. They are, but they're also cowards for refusing to advance to the apprentice rank. Well, can you blame them? They're making good money clearing F-rank dungeons. They're just scared. If they advance to the apprentice rank, they'll start over at level 1 and become the weakest in that rank. Most importantly, they'll lose the ability to enter F-rank dungeons, which would lead to their squad's downfall. True, but the Bouncer Squad isn't the only group doing this. Plenty of squads stay in the same rank and earn a hefty sum every day. I also heard that one of the top 5 guilds have took them in, though this is still a rumor as of now.
The crowd buzzed with discussions about the Bouncer Squad. Though their exploits were well known, most people disdained their methods. Staying in the same rank just to earn money is stupid, Max thought, shaking his head. He understood that the value of drops from monsters in E-rank dungeons and above would easily surpass what the Bouncer Squad earned in a month. Are they here for the Burning Wilds dungeon? Max wondered. He wanted to test his strength against the boss, but with the Bouncer Squad involved, it would be difficult. But who hired them? The question lingered in Max's mind. 21 mocked upon. As Max waited for time to pass, he noticed many more people joining the already dense crowd near the portal. Most people, if not wearing armor, had weapons on them as they waited patiently to enter the dungeon. Just then, something in the sky caught everyone's attention. It appeared to be a flying beast making its way toward them, scaring the hell out of everyone present.
What the hell? Where did this beast come from?
Someone shouted in fear.
Don't worry, that's a wave eagle, which can be tamed, so I'm sure it's someone's ride,
said a member of the Bouncer Squad, a heavily built man with dark red hair standing with his arms crossed. Moments later, the beast came closer to the dungeon, and people could finally see that it was indeed as the red-haired man suggested. 3 people were riding the wave eagle as it landed not far from them. 2 of the riders were beautiful young ladies, and the third was an old man. Leaving the massive wave eagle behind, they approached the portal and waited silently, but the crowd reacted quite the opposite. Murmurs and whispers spread among the people as they speculated about the trio's identities. Only a very few people were capable of taming a wild beast like a wave eagle.
Who are these people? Why haven't I heard of anyone with a wave eagle in the inner circle before? Same here. I don't recognize them at all. Could they be from the general's quarters? That might be the only explanation. Otherwise, their sudden appearance makes no sense. The 2 young ladies who came with the old man seem like they've just awakened, but their strength matches ours. One is at level 8 of the novice rank, and the other is at level 7. They're definitely geniuses from the general's quarters.
Max listened to the crowd and grew curious. They must have special identities, and those 2 young ladies seem like they awakened not long ago, just like me, but their strength has already reached levels 7 and 8. He wondered if these were the kinds of geniuses he'd face in the test held by the general. Just then, a man in military clothing descended from the sky alongside a blonde-haired woman. They landed before the portal and addressed the crowd.
The portal is now active, so you can enter, but not before I say so,
the man announced in a rough voice.
If this is your first time entering the portal, please report to Miss Wellen. She'll help you with your ID before you're eligible to enter.
I completely forgot about the Hunter ID, Max thought with a sigh as he headed toward the woman to get his ID. One could either go directly to their local Hunter Association branch for a Hunter ID or get a temporary soft copy during their first dungeon exploration of a ranked dungeon. Max had planned to visit the Hunter Association for his Hunter ID but had forgotten about it during the 168 years he spent in the dimension of time. When Max approached the blonde-haired woman, he noticed he was the only one standing before her. No one else needed assistance with a Hunter ID. I guess I'm the only newbie here, he mused, turning his attention to the blonde-haired woman, who was examining him.
Name?
She asked bluntly, tapping her holowatch. A holographic screen appeared before her.
Max Morgan.
He replied.
District and city? Dustfall District, Crestford City. Place your right hand on the handshake print.
The woman instructed, pointing at a hologram before him. Max complied, placing his hand on the hologram as it scanned him for a few seconds.
All set. I've sent your soft Hunter ID. The Hunter Association will send you the original ID within a week,
the woman said after the process was complete. Max nodded and checked his holowatch, where his Hunter ID now appeared. Sweet. Smiling, he walked back to the group preparing to enter the Burning Wilds dungeon, but not before facing ridicule.
Look at this kid. He's only at level 3, and he dares to enter an F-rank dungeon. He must think he's a genius after staying at some academy, and came here to try his luck. Exactly. He probably thinks his measly strength is enough to fight in an F-rank dungeon. Hey kid, go away. This isn't a place for a newbie like you. Go buy some F-rank cores and level up first. No, let him be. He'll learn his lesson, if he stays alive. Ha ha ha.
The crowd mocked him relentlessly, sneering and calling him a fool. Some shouted for him to leave, while others watched coldly. Even the 2 young women who had arrived on the Wave Eagle glanced at Max curiously, wondering why someone so weak would dare enter an F-rank dungeon. Meanwhile, Max stood silently, enduring the insults. When the mocking finally subsided, he sighed and murmured softly.
Man, there sure are a lot of bugs in this forest buzzing around my ears.
Everyone froze at his words, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief. Stupefied, they struggled to comprehend what they had just heard. Max had called them bugs. The sheer audacity left them reeling, and an odd silence spread before the inevitable outburst.
Hey kid, what did you just say? Repeat that if you have the guts. You'd better apologize, or you might not leave the dungeon in one piece. How dare you call us bugs? Forget about entering the dungeon, kid. Even if you do, nobody's going to protect you, and you'll die for sure with your strength.
The crowd erupted in fury, threatening Max as anger swept through them. Max, however, yawned, ignoring their rage. Instead, he turned to the man in military clothing and asked.
So, when are we entering?
The man smiled at Max before addressing the crowd.
Now,
he said.
Enter the portal one by one.
The crowd seethed as Max continued to disregard them, but the time to enter the dungeon had come, and there was nothing they could do. One by one, people began entering the portal. Max waited at the back of the line when the two young women passed by him.
You're dumb but funny.
A bell-like voice rang in his ears. He turned to see the red-haired woman walking past him, followed by the brown-haired one.
I'm dumb.
Max shook his head wryly, noting the comment. Soon, his turn came, and he stepped into the portal, disappearing from sight. 22 advancing to level 4. Max found himself in a charred forest as soon as he stepped through the portal. Quite a unique place, but it's too hot here, he thought, wiping sweat from his forehead. He had just arrived, yet he was already sweating, making him wonder how he would fare for the rest of his time in the dungeon. Looking around, he found himself amidst a forest of charred, smoldering tree trunks. Each trunk was stripped of its leaves, yet they glowed faintly, as if veins of molten energy coursed within. Scarlet foliage clung stubbornly to a few branches, their fiery hues casting an eerie light over the desolate landscape. Streams of molten lava snaked through the forest floor, the air shimmering with intense heat, making the entire scene feel like a gateway to an infernal realm. No wonder it's so hot here, Max mused, observing the many individuals who had appeared nearby. Since not everyone materialized in the same spot, groups of people were scattered throughout the charred landscape, and Max was within one such group.
Hey kid, you're with us, but believe me, we won't help you even if you're about to die here.
Someone taunted as soon as they saw him.
Yeah, prepare to die, Keika. It's your fault for mocking those you shouldn't have.
Max sighed at their stupidity. Did they really think he would come here knowing he'd die with his so-called measly strength? What idiots.
Damn, those bugs are still following me.
He muttered, waving his hands dismissively as though shooing flies.
This kid, I'll kill him. How dare he mock us again? Doesn't he fear death?
The people around Max seethed with rage. They hadn't expected him to have the audacity to insult them again, calling them bugs. Their fury boiled over.
Everyone, don't fight amongst yourselves.
Just as it seemed they might attack Max, a calm female voice broke through the tension. Max and the others turned to see a red-haired girl addressing them.
We're in a dungeon. Anything could go wrong, so we should all be careful and work together.
She suggested. Many among the crowd frowned. They didn't like taking orders, especially from someone young, and especially not when one of them had been mocking them.
And who are you to give us orders, anyway?
Someone challenged her. The red-haired girl looked at the man who had spoken, then at the crowd, and shook her head.
Forget it then.
She turned to the brown-haired lady beside her and said.
Let's go.
The brown-haired lady nodded and quietly followed the red-haired girl as they headed deeper into the charred forest. Max shrugged and went his own way, disappearing into the forest.
My target here is the secret chamber and collecting lots of mana crystals.
He mused, walking across the barren, blackened ground.
Growl.
5 wolves appeared before him, growling angrily. Max looked at them and noticed they were regular-sized wolves, but their bodies were covered entirely in flames instead of fur.
They're level 6.
He noted and fired 5 bullets at the wolves. 5 blue beams of light shot from his fingers, catching the wolves off guard. They didn't even have time to dodge. Bang! 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 All 5 level 6 wolves exploded as the bullets hit them. With his magic bullet skill at level 100, these wolves were no match for him.
They must be beginner-level wolves for this F-rank dungeon.
Max muttered, moving to collect the drops. Just as he reached them, Max swiftly turned and fired another 5 bullets, this time into the air. Bang! 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 The bullets struck 5 lava birds flying above, killing them instantly. These lava birds were half Max's size and entirely made of lava. Their long beaks made them appear menacing, but they weren't very agile in the air.
All of them were also level 6.
Max muttered as he gathered the drops from the wolves and moved to collect those left by the birds. After collecting everything, Max estimated that the cores from these monsters should be enough to level him up to level 4. But there's no safe place here to level up in peace, he thought with a silent sigh, deciding to press onward for now. After half an hour of exploration, Max encountered many lava birds and lava wolves, all at level 6. This convinced him that he was still in the starting area of the dungeon. Also, why haven't I found a single mana crystal since I arrived? Max frowned. He didn't believe his luck was so bad that all the mana crystals in this area had already been collected.
I'm certain no one has been to this part of the forest.
He muttered, his expression turning serious.
I should search more carefully, maybe I missed something.
Max began combing through the forest meticulously, killing any beasts he encountered while scouring every nook and cranny. He checked the tops of trees, under rocks and boulders, and even dug into the ground. Still, he found nothing.
What the hell?
Max exclaimed, baffled by the absence of mana crystals.
Roar.
A deafening wolf's roar echoed through the forest.
This.
Max frowned and looked in the direction of the sound.
That roar could belong to a level 8 lava wolf.
His eyes gleamed with excitement.
I should head there, but first, I need to level up to level 4.
Max muttered, climbing a tree to absorb the level 6 cores he had collected. He wanted to be cautious when facing a level 8 wolf, unsure of how powerful such a monster might be. Congratulations to Max Voidwalker for leveling up to level 4 of novice rank. After absorbing his 6th core, a notification appeared in his vision, but he didn't stop. He continued until he had absorbed all the level 6 cores. Feeling the surge of strength, Max jumped down from the tree and headed toward the source of the roar. Since mana crystals were nowhere to be found, he decided that a level 8 wolf would be a fair trade-off. 23 2 level 8 monsters. Max dashed forward through the charred forest, leaving behind a trail of hot wind. Along the way, he encountered many lava wolves and lava birds, but he killed them all. He also met several people like him, complaining and searching for mana crystals all over the place, unable to find a single one. Frustrated, they eventually left the charred forest region. Beyond the forest lay a barren land. There were no trees or even charred remnants of trees, only the black surface of the earth stretching endlessly. In the distance, a volcano bubbled with lava. Max observed the scene from the edge of the forest but didn't leave, for the wolf's roar had come from deeper within.
I should be close,
he muttered, moving ahead cautiously with his three-dimensional body skill active. After half an hour of searching, he finally spotted the level 8 wolf, but the situation was more serious than he could have imagined. Max moved silently, climbing a tree nearby to observe the situation. He saw a level 8 wolf leading a pack of several level 7 wolves and countless level 6 wolves, all of them lava wolves with flames surrounding their bodies. The wolves were facing off against a lava serpent standing before a cave. The lava serpent appeared quite tall.
It's almost 10 feet, and it's thick,
Max noted silently. From what he could tell, the level 8 wolf had led its pack into a battle with the lava serpent, though he couldn't discern the reason for their conflict. That cave. Max observed the cave behind the lava serpent and understood that it had something to do with the standoff. The lava serpent stood defensively, as if protecting something within the cave. The lava serpent is at level 9, Max frowned at the serpent's strength. It's protecting something in that cave, and the level 8 wolf started this fight because of it. However, the battle hadn't started yet. The two parties were still glaring at each other, or more precisely, they were speaking in their own language, which Max couldn't understand. I should wait for them to finish fighting, then I'll reap the benefits, Max planned, settling in to observe. At that moment, Max noticed something through his three-dimensional body skill that shocked him to his core. He saw two young women approaching the cave's edge from deep inside. Damn, they're the two girls from before, the ones with the flying eagle, Max froze. He couldn't believe that these two had managed to enter the lava serpent's lair in the midst of all the chaos. How had the wolves not noticed? How had the lava serpent not seen intruders? Max couldn't understand how the two girls had managed to get inside the cave, but from the looks of it, they weren't leaving anytime soon. Though he couldn't see the entire cave from his three-dimensional body skill, since he was positioned far away, he could still clearly see the entrance. He saw the girls waiting there, but they weren't trying to leave. They must have used some secret method to enter, but it's a one-way ticket, Max guessed. However, what he couldn't understand was why they had risked entering the cave, knowing they couldn't leave safely without facing the pack of level 6 and 7 wolves led by a level 8 wolf and a level 9 lava serpent. Huh! Max silently exclaimed as he saw the girls venture deeper into the cave. Wait a minute, why are they going back inside when they just came from deeper within? He frowned, confused by their actions. Max paused to think. Could it be that they just entered the cave now and are heading deeper for the first time? He considered this possibility and felt it was most likely the case. But this would only be possible if they had something that made them invisible, since neither I nor the monsters noticed them when they reached the entrance. Max believed his assumption was correct, but the thing that still bothered him was whether his three-dimensional body skill was unable to detect something invisible, or if the two girls had come from the opposite end of the cave, where he couldn't see them, and that was why he only noticed them once they were inside, within the range of his skill. Since my three-dimensional body skill is space-related, it shouldn't matter if someone is visible or not. I should be able to see them if they're physically present around me, Max mused, though he wasn't entirely sure. Let's wait and see how this all unfolds, Max thought, continuing to observe. The level 8 wolf continued to growl at the level 9 lava serpent, which responded by hissing back. The growling and hissing had been going on for several minutes. Damn, they should start fighting already, Max thought impatiently. Should I go and kill them all? The thought crossed his mind, but he quickly shook it off. He wanted to know if the battle was truly about the cave or if there was something else at stake.
Hiss, Roahar.
Suddenly, both the level 8 wolf and the level 9 lava serpent roared and hissed loudly, turning toward the cave entrance. They immediately charged toward the cave in a berserk frenzy. Max was shocked to see them suddenly go berserk. They're moving toward the cave, could it be? Max frowned, his mind racing as he pointed toward the cave entrance with his index finger and fired a concentrated magic bullet. A blue beam of light shot from his finger, reaching the cave entrance just ahead of the level 8 wolf and the level 9 lava serpent. Bang! The bullet slammed into the top of the cave entrance with a thunderous crack, causing a violent collapse. Massive chunks of rock tumbled down, crashing into each other with deafening roars. Dust billowed out in thick clouds, completely sealing off the entrance and leaving behind an impenetrable wall of jagged stone. Both the level 8 wolf and the level 9 lava serpent came to an abrupt stop and turned their heads toward Max. 24 battle prowess reaching extreme.
Hello there, how are you guys?
Max waved at them, leaned back, and jumped. He flew straight above the pack of lava wolves and rained down 50 magic bullets at them. Beams of blue light fell upon them like a merciless killer, taking down the level 6 and level 7 wolves in one hit.
Roar.
The lava wolves growled. They ran, they dodged, but their efforts were all in vain. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't escape the blue beams of light. They were killed in one swift hit from the magic bullets, saving Max a lot of time. Max landed in the middle of the chaos just in time to witness their bodies disappear in red light, leaving behind tons of items.
Good.
Max smiled in excitement, seeing that just one bullet was enough to kill a level 7 monster like it was nothing.
Roar.
The level 8 lava wolf roared at Max after seeing that he killed all its pack. It swiftly dashed forward and appeared right before Max, its mouth holding a fireball ready to launch at him. However, just before it could launch the fireball, Max used the swift dash skill and sidestepped, appearing at the wolf's right side.
You're going down, buddy.
He chuckled and took out his sword, which began to shine with a light blue color before he swung it down with both hands. Slash. Max's sword severed the wolf's head like cutting butter with a knife in one swift motion. However, just when he thought the level 8 lava wolf would be easy to kill, a shocking scene unfolded before him. To his shock, a new head sprouted from the neck of the headless lava wolf. I see, so these lava wolves are literally made of lava, Max noted, though he was unsure why only the level 8 wolf was able to regenerate and not the others. Maybe their levels are just too low for that. Seeing that the wolf regenerated its head, Max swung his sword again. But this time, after cutting its head, he didn't stop. He swung his sword many more times, completely cutting the entire level 8 lava wolf into pieces.
Now it should stay put, right?
Max muttered, unsure, as he observed the pieces of the lava wolf when he saw, with his three-dimensional body skill, that the level 9 lava serpent had attacked. Its tail swept toward him with unrelenting ferocity. Max used the swift dash skill and quickly retreated, dodging the attack. It was then that he saw the pieces of the lava wolf begin to come closer, as if they were attracted to each other, before merging like magma and reforming the body of the wolf once again.
Holy shit.
The scene left Max completely stunned. He couldn't believe that a level 8 lava wolf had such healing abilities that it could regenerate through various methods.
If a level 8 lava wolf can't be killed, then what about the level 9 lava serpent?
Max wondered, but then he shook his head.
No, if they couldn't be killed, then this dungeon would be very difficult to clear. There must be something I'm missing.
He pondered, looking at the level 8 wolf, which growled in caution, and the level 9 lava serpent, which glared at him with deadly intent.
I see.
Max finally understood what he had been doing wrong this whole time. He slowly walked toward the level 8 lava wolf, which trembled and began to retreat in fear when it saw Max heading toward it. But before it could fully commit to running, Max appeared beside the wolf again and swung his blue-glowing sword down at its neck, severing its head. However, Max wasn't done. He swiftly fired a magic bullet at the wolf's head, completely destroying it. Let's see, Max thought as he looked at the headless body of the lava wolf, which began to glow in shimmering red light before disappearing, leaving behind many items.
It was tricky.
Max muttered before turning his attention to the level 9 lava serpent, which seemed to be staring at him with lethal intent but refused to attack.
What? Too afraid to attack?
He sneered and walked toward the lava serpent slowly. Hiss. 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 However, no sooner had Max begun walking than the serpent began to tremble, hissing at him.
Sorry, buddy. I can't seem to understand you.
Max shook his head in pity and was about to attack the lava serpent when it took off into the distance.
Ah yes, you can still run.
Max smiled and began chasing the level 9 serpent using his swift dash skill. But after just a few seconds, he caught up with the lava serpent and aimed at it with his finger. With his three-dimensional body, it became very easy for him to aim, even if the target was in motion. As long as they were within his range of omniscience, they were his target, regardless of their position.
Whoosh.
A small blue light began to form atop his index finger.
Let's see if I can kill a level 9 monster with a normal single magic bullet.
Max muttered, about to fire when he stopped midway.
What happened here?
Max paused because the lava serpent had led him to a very strange place. It was still the charred forest, but instead of the flickering red flames and rivers of lava that he had seen before, this place was overflowing with black lava like a river. Black flames flickered across the barren trees, on the cracked ground, and on the rocks and boulders and everywhere. Black flames could be seen everywhere around this place.
Black flames and black lava.
Max found this very odd. He had never seen or heard of black flames before. Moreover, even as he stood so far from the flames, he could feel a very dangerous aura emanating from them.
Hiss.
The lava serpent hissed at Max from a distance and turned its head toward the direction where the black lava river was flowing, frequently glancing back at him.
Does it want me to follow?
Max wondered, frowning.
Wait a minute. This lava serpent wasn't running. It was leading me to this place.
He smiled wryly, understanding, feeling better that he didn't fire the magic bullet after all.
But why does it want me to follow?
He contemplated and decided to follow the serpent to see what it wanted from him by leading him to such a ghastly place. Max slowly moved toward the serpent cautiously, carefully avoiding the black flames. Seeing Max moving forward, the lava serpent also moved, leading him through the stretch of black flames and along the black lava river. After following the lava serpent for some minutes, Max came to a stop because the serpent had stopped, and what he saw next made him question if he was dreaming. 25 Black Dragon.
Dragon.
Max whispered, his voice trembling with shock and disbelief. His eyes widened, and his mouth hung slightly open as he stared at the massive figure floating before him. His face was a picture of pure astonishment, struggling to process the impossible sight in front of him. The scene before him was nothing short of majestic. In front of a small hill leading to a cave, a massive black dragon hovered in the air. Its serpentine body was covered in pitch-black scales that shimmered faintly, reflecting the dim light like polished obsidian. Black flames enveloped its entire body, flickering and dancing ominously, making it appear even more menacing and otherworldly. However, its overall size wasn't that large, almost the same size as the level 9 lava serpent standing beside Max. What is a dragon doing here? Max frowned, but when he saw its strength, his eyes widened with astonishment. Level 10 novice rank.
How could it be level 10?
He muttered in shock. As far as he knew, only a boss-ranked monster in an F-rank dungeon would have the strength of level 10. Other than that, no monster would possess such a level of power. This dungeon is full of mysteries, Max mused, glancing at the level 9 lava serpent beside him. It seemed to have lost its edge after leading him here and had become as docile as a dog. But why did it lead me here? Max contemplated, looking at the black dragon from afar before his attention was caught by the cave just behind the dragon. It was then that he saw black flames flowing from inside the cave to the outside, connecting to the black dragon.
Hiss, hiss.
The lava serpent frequently turned its head toward the cave, as if signaling that something valuable was hidden there. Max looked at the lava serpent solemnly.
You brought me here because you want to buy your life in exchange for whatever is in that cave.
The lava serpent stared at Max blankly at his question.
So I forget it.
Max facepalmed himself and shook his head wryly. For a moment, he had forgotten he was speaking to a lava serpent, a monster. He then turned his attention back to the cave and pondered. According to the level 9 lava serpent, there must be something extremely precious inside that cave. Otherwise, it wouldn't have brought me here in exchange for its life. He was sure of it. Moreover, the black flames coming from the cave and connecting to the black dragon made Max suspect that whatever treasure awaited him inside was linked to the black dragon in front of him. Should I fight? Max wondered about his chances against a level 10 monster, though he had complete confidence in himself. Even if he couldn't kill the monster, he wouldn't lose either. After coming to this dungeon and fighting against level 6, level 7, and level 8 monsters, Max realized that his level 100 skills were far too strong for an F-rank dungeon. He could literally one-shot any monster in this dungeon with his level 100 magic bullet, and even if he couldn't kill them in one shot, what about 100 bullets? What about the fusion bullets formed by combining 2 or more magic bullets?
Though I've heard there's a major difference in power between level 9 and level 10.
Max muttered, eager to see if his strength had reached the level 10 novice rank. With that thought in mind, Max aimed and fired a normal magic bullet at the black dragon. Whoosh! A beam of blue light tore through the air and hit the black dragon, only to pass through its body and strike the hill behind it.
What? My bullet didn't have any effect.
Max was shocked, but before he could think of a reason, the black dragon turned its head toward him. Its head, adorned with 2 long horns, twisted toward him, and it roared.
Roar.
The dragon's roar reverberated throughout the entire charred forest.
It's coming toward me.
Max's eyes narrowed as he immediately drew his sword, which began to shine with a light blue color. He slashed down with one clean strike as the dragon neared him. Bang! Max felt as if his sword had hit an iron wall, forcing him back several steps from the collision. However, his attack wasn't in vain. The black dragon was also pushed back several steps. But the most important thing for Max was that his sword strike had managed to hit the black dragon, unlike his magic bullet.
Let me try again.
Max aimed at the black dragon and fired another magic bullet. Swish! The bullet hit the black dragon, only to pass through its body once again.
Again it passed through.
Max muttered, frowning. But he noticed something that piqued his interest. When the bullet struck the black dragon's body, the spot where the bullet hit briefly turned into black flames before returning to normal.
Black flames.
Max contemplated and understood what was happening. From what he gathered, the black dragon wasn't a real dragon but something composed of black flames, which seemed to be leaking from the cave behind it. Maybe that's why my magic bullets couldn't hit it. As for my sword. Max mused, noticing the light blue glow around his sword. It's probably because of the sword aura that my sword was able to strike it.
Roar.
At that moment, the black dragon attacked again, unleashing a torrent of black fire from its maw. The flames surged toward Max like a raging inferno. Max darted from one spot to another, nimbly evading the onslaught. He ducked behind trees, leaped over boulders, and, with the help of his swift dash skill, maneuvered with precision. Each step was calculated, each move seamless, as he skillfully dodged the deadly flames that scorched everything in their path.
It's time for my attack.
He smiled and, using swift dash, swiftly closed the distance between them and appeared at the side of the black dragon.
Fury strike.
Max immediately unleashed the more powerful skill he possessed. Hundreds of sword shadows streaked through the air like a relentless storm, converging on the black dragon. They struck its scales with a barrage of sharp impacts, creating a symphony of clangs and sparks that danced across its impenetrable body. Clang! 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 The black dragon was pushed back several steps, but his attack didn't manage to injure it. All his sword shadows were blocked by the dragon's scales, rendering Max's attack useless.
More.
Max intended to attack again. However, just as he was about to strike, something happened to the black dragon. Black flames consumed its entire body. He hurriedly retreated, not wanting to get caught in those horrendous black flames.
What happened?
Max muttered, frowning as he looked at the cloud of black flames. The black dragon was no longer visible, but the cloud of black flames floated ominously just above the ground. A very aged and rough voice came from the cloud, catching Max off guard for a moment.
Who are you?
Max asked tensely, feeling an intense pressure emanating from the black cloud.
Me?
The voice echoed softly before the cloud dispersed, unveiling a man holding a sword in his hand. He appeared to be in his 50s, his white hair stark against the backdrop of the fading mist. Despite his age, there was a dangerous gleam in his eyes, sharp and unyielding, exuding an aura that sent a shiver of caution through Max. However, the man was pitch black like the black flames and the black dragon from before. 26 Intent.
Who are you?
Max asked, sweating. The pressure he felt from this man was so overwhelming that he almost felt like prostrating before him. It wasn't instinctual, but a deep, primal urge from the very bottom of his heart screamed for him to kowtow and worship the man standing in front of him. Damn, this man is very dangerous. I better get out of here, Max thought, secretly planning his escape.
Defeat me.
The man said, pointing his sword at Max. As soon as the words left his lips, the man vanished from his position and reappeared before Max, slashing down at his shoulders. Max's eyes widened in shock. If not for his three-dimensional body skill, he wouldn't have been able to follow such a fast attack with his eyes. Max used his sword aura to the maximum and countered with an upward slash. Clang. Wind howled and bellowed as their swords collided, sending shockwaves in all directions. A figure was blasted back at breakneck speed, crashing into a charred tree. The figure was Max.
Cough.
He coughed up a mouthful of blood as he collided with the tree. He's too strong. Max thought, feeling pain coursing through his entire body. Even though he could battle those at level 10, his body and physique were still at level 4. It didn't matter if he could fight at that level, if even one of their attacks landed, he'd be finished. Slowly standing, Max warily stared at the man.
What do you want?
He asked, his voice cracking from the pressure the man was exuding.
Defeat me.
The man said before attacking again, thrusting his sword forward, sending hundreds of small black dragons toward Max. Max gritted his teeth and immediately used the level 100 flurry strike, thrusting his sword forward 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 100 times in quick succession. With each thrust, 5 sword shadows were released. In no time, 500 sword shadows collided with the hundreds of small black dragons from the man's sword. The sword shadows and the black dragons collided, causing black flaming explosions between Max and the man, forcing Max to retreat, his feet sliding back 5 steps before he came to a stop.
My attack is useless.
Max muttered, feeling the strength of the man. Although the man's displayed strength was still at level 10, the constant pressure he emanated made Max tremble in fear. I want to use the divergent slash attack that I made up with the sword aura while training all those years in the dimension of time, but I need a little time to use that attack and I don't think this guy will give me that. He pondered his options.
Your sword is strong, but it's lacking something of great value.
The man said, making Max frown.
Lacking something?
Max frowned, glancing at his blue glowing sword.
What is it lacking?
He asked, genuinely curious. Max had also felt before that there seemed to be missing something from his sword aura. Although he couldn't tell what it was, he knew it was of utmost importance to it.
An intent.
The man replied calmly.
Your sword has perfect form, mastered over years of practice, but it is lacking intent. Intent.
Max pondered the word, trying to understand the connection between intent and his sword. Seeing the confusion on Max's face, the man's expression softened slightly, though his eyes remained sharp. He spoke again, his voice calm but firm.
When someone wants to kill you, their intent is driven by the desire to end your life. That's killing intent. A monster, on the other hand, will attack with beastly hunger or rage. That's bestial intent. But when it comes to wielding a sword, the intent is different.
He paused, watching Max carefully as he let the weight of his words settle.
Intent is what drives your sword. It's more than just swinging a blade. Without intent, your sword is just a tool, not an extension of your will. If you draw your sword without any purpose or feeling behind it, you'll never truly understand the deeper laws of the sword. You'll remain stagnant in your growth as a swordsman.
Max stood still, absorbing the gravity of the lesson. The man's words were sharp and clear, and for the first time, he began to sense that the sword was not just an instrument of battle, it was a reflection of the mind, the heart, and the soul.
An intent that drives my sword, an extension of my will.
Max repeated the words quietly to himself, his mind sinking deeper into contemplation. As he pondered the meaning behind the man's teachings, something inside him stirred. It was as if the very essence of swordsmanship, something he'd never truly understood before, was beginning to click into place. Without realizing it, Max entered a state of enlightenment. His movements slowed, and he raised his sword. He began to swing it aimlessly at first, not with strength, power, or even his sword aura, but with a sense of fluidity, as if testing the air, feeling the rhythm of the world around him. There was no rush in his movements, each swing was deliberate, yet effortless, as if the sword were merely an extension of his own arm. At first, the air around him seemed still, but gradually, a subtle shift began to happen. A quiet hum echoed from the blade, and a faint aura began to form around the edge of the sword. As he continued his swings, the aura grew stronger and sharper, as if the sword itself was alive, responding to his deepening understanding. Max's eyes narrowed slightly, sensing the change. After that, his movements became more confident, more focused, as if the sword was no longer a tool, but an embodiment of his will itself. In that moment, Max knew he had begun to grasp what the man had been teaching him. The true essence of the sword was not in the blade, but in the intent that guided it. Max closed his eyes, absorbing everything he had learned just now, before opening them and looking at the man before him.
I am ready,
he said calmly. The man nodded approvingly and swung his sword down in one final slash. Max took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. There was no hesitation now. He focused, and with a sharp, controlled movement, he brought his sword up in a powerful upward slash to meet the old man's sword. Clang! The two blades met with a resounding crash, the shockwave of the impact vibrating through the air. Max's grip on his sword tightened, and he stood his ground, holding his position firmly. His sword remained steady, unwavering under the force of the blow. The old man, on the other hand, was slowly pushed back, the force of Max's strike driving him off balance. It was only for a moment, but the sight was enough to make Max feel a surge of pride. However, just as Max thought he had succeeded, an unexpected and deeply unsettling sound rang in his ears. Crack! Max's eyes widened in horror as he saw the surface of his sword begin to splinter. A web of cracks spread rapidly across the blade, the fractures crawling up the steel-like veins, until the entire sword shattered with a deafening bang. The pieces flew in all directions, and Max was sent hurtling backward by the force of the explosion. His body slammed against the ground, the shock of the impact rattling his bones.
That hurts.
Max winced in pain, slowly standing up before looking back at the man.
You passed.
The man said before transforming into black flames and flowing back into the cave.
But remember this. What you have learned is just the edge of intent. It needs years of practice before your intent can truly take form.
His last words echoed in Max's ears as the black flames disappeared into the cave.
Whoever you are, I am very grateful for your teachings.
Max bowed in appreciation before turning his attention to the cave in front of him. 27 Bloodline.
Let's see what's inside.
Max muttered. But before he could move, the level 9 lava serpent appeared before him and began hissing relentlessly.
All right, I won't kill you.
Max chuckled, laughing as he patted the level 9 serpent, which rubbed its head against Max.
Stay here. I'll be back.
Max said to the serpent before heading into the cave. The cave looked like any other normal cave, but it was filled with black flames. Max treaded carefully, heading deeper into the cave. Not long after, he reached the end of the cave, but what awaited him there surprised Max. He saw a human skeleton in a sitting position, leaning against the wall. A box with runes drawn on it lay open at its side. But Max's attention remained on the human skeleton.
This skeleton.
Max stared at the skeleton, which was overflowing with black flames. The bones of the skeleton were pitch black, with golden markings glowing atop them. Just then, something unexpected happened. The skeleton suddenly moved and grabbed his hand.
Let go.
Max's eyes widened as he shouted, trying to pull his hand back. But no matter what he did, he couldn't budge. His hand remained stuck in the skeleton's grasp. But that was the least of Max's fears. In no time, the black flames began to move from every part of the skeleton to the hand that was holding Max's.
No.
Max shouted, pulling with all his strength, but it was futile. The flames soon flowed from the skeleton's hand to his, engulfing him completely.
Agag.
A blood-curdling scream tore from his throat as waves of agony surged through him, consuming every inch of his being. It felt as though molten nails were being driven into his bones, tearing through muscle and sinew with unrelenting force. The pain was so excruciating that Max felt his grip on consciousness slipping. It wasn't just one part of his body, every fiber of his being was consumed by torment. It was as if black flames were searing him from the inside out, devouring every muscle, every bone, and every nerve, leaving him writhing in unbearable agony. Darkness crept over Max, relentless and suffocating, steadily pulling him toward the abyss. He could feel his strength waning, his life slipping away bit by bit. It was an odd sensation, as though his very essence was being drained, leaving behind an empty, hollow shell. But he refused to let go.
No.
He roared, his voice echoing with defiance. He couldn't die, not now, not like this. He hadn't yet found his sister, hadn't yet reunited with his family.
I won't die. I won't die this easily.
He bellowed, his determination burning brighter than ever, pushing against the crushing tide of despair. And so, Max endured, his body racked with excruciating pain that felt as if it would tear him apart. Every nerve screamed, every muscle convulsed, yet he fought on, clinging desperately to life. Each second felt like an eternity, but Max refused to falter. With every ounce of strength he could muster, he fought, not just against the pain, but against the very force trying to snuff out his existence. Hours passed, and the black flames engulfing Max slowly began to fade. Congratulations to Max Voidwalker for obtaining the Black Dragon Chaotic Bloodline. A notification from his system made Max open his eyes.
What the hell just happened?
Max muttered, dread filling him at the thought of the pain he had just endured. He trembled at the thought of suffering like that again.
May God never give this pain to even my enemies.
He murmured before turning his attention to the notification.
Bloodline.
Max uttered in shock, realization striking him.
Does that mean everything I went through just now was part of this black dragon bloodline, fusing in my body? So, the treasure of this cave was this bloodline.
He understood everything and checked his status. Max. Rank, Novice. Level, 4. Class, Dimensional Keeper. Physique, 6. Soul, 6.8. Energy, 9. Skills. Class skills, 3-dimensional body, dimension of time. Acquired skills, magic bullets, LVL, 100, basic sword arts, LVL, 100, swift dash, LVL, 100, flurry strike, LVL, 100. Comprehensions, sword aura, LVL, 1. Bloodline, Black Dragon Chaotic Bloodline. Draconic Essence, 10. Dragon Scales, 1.
Draconic Essence and Dragon Scales.
Max muttered as he saw a new bloodline section appear on his status.
I have 10 Draconic Essence and 1 Dragon Scale. What are they used for?
He wondered, contemplating.
Let's see.
Max brought his right hand forward and focused, causing it to blaze with black flames.
I know I can use black flames because it's like it's inherited in my memory, and it's very easy to control.
He muttered, putting away the flame. He could use the black flames because after the bloodline fused with him, there were things he instinctively understood about it, though some things remained unclear.
As for the Draconic Essence.
Max pondered, focusing on the bloodline flowing through his body. It was then that he saw it, 10 dim black lights floating inside him. He concentrated on 5 of them, causing them to glow brightly, still in black light. As the 5 black lights shimmered faintly, Max felt a surge of untamed power roaring to life within him. It wasn't mana, nor was it the refined control of sword aura, it was something far more primal. A raw, ferocious energy that radiated from every fiber of his being, as if his body had become a conduit for pure, unbridled strength.
What is this?
Max murmured, his voice tinged with disbelief as he clenched his fists. The sensation was intoxicating. He felt invincible, as if the mere act of breathing could shatter the world around him. Every muscle thrummed with an overwhelming force, and his instincts screamed for release. Unable to resist, Max surrendered to the feeling. He threw a punch into the air, his movements guided by the sheer confidence that coursed through him. Boom! The air exploded outward, rippling like a tidal wave. The force of his strike shook the ground beneath his feet, sending a gust of wind tearing through the charred forest. Leafless trees bent under the invisible pressure, and for a moment, Max stood frozen, his hands still outstretched.
I did that.
He whispered, awe and exhilaration mixing in his voice as he realized the magnitude of his newfound strength.
I only used the power of 5 black lights. What would happen if I used all 10?
Max murmured, his voice tinged with curiosity and a spark of madness glimmering in his eyes. Without a second thought, he pushed further, summoning the power once more. First, 5 black lights. The familiar surge of raw strength coursed through his body, and a thrill shot down his spine. Then came 6. The energy felt heavier, denser, like a tidal wave crashing within him. His confidence only grew. But as he reached 7 black lights, the first cracks appeared. Pain rippled through his body like lightning, sharp and relentless, clawing at his muscles and bones. Max grimaced but refused to falter, driven by sheer determination, or perhaps insanity. 28 Alice and Amy.
More.
Max growled, his voice strained but defiant. He called upon the power of the 8th black light. The moment he did, his body rebelled. His muscles clenched so tightly they felt like iron cords ready to snap. His veins bulged grotesquely, snaking across his skin like dark rivers, and every nerve in his body screamed in agony. Sweat poured down his face in torrents as his skin flushed red from the pressure of the untamed, raw strength inside his body.
8, it is then.
Max took a deep breath and released the power within his body back into the black lights.
With my current body, I can only use the power of 8 black lights. If I go any further, I fear my body would just explode.
He muttered in contemplation. Having figured out the use of draconic essence, Max pondered the dragon scales but couldn't come up with anything specific.
I'll figure something out later. Let's first go back to the cave of the lava serpent. I can't let those 2 girls take everything inside for themselves, but I wonder if I'm too late.
He thought, sighing. He scanned the cave one final time when something gleamed on the ground beside the skeleton. Max cautiously circled the skeleton, still wary of what happened last time, and approached the gleaming object from the other side. Upon reaching it and examining it closely, a smile tugged at Max's lips. The gleaming object hidden underneath the ground was a sword. Digging it out, Max grasped the sword in his hands. It was of a normal size, the only difference being the blade, which was pitch black. Max guessed it belonged to the same person the skeleton belonged to.
It's good,
he said, feeling very comfortable holding the sword. Even the weight was just right for his strength.
Looks like I won't need a new sword anytime soon. Let's leave.
Max muttered to himself, taking the open box with runes on it. He put the sword and the open box away and left the cave. The lava serpent was waiting for him outside, wagging its tail like a little dog when it saw Max emerging from the cave.
Let's go, buddy.
Max smiled and headed back to the lava serpent's lair. He had left behind many level 6 and 7 cores, along with a level 8 one. Even if he couldn't get anything from the 2 girls, he still had to take what belonged to him. Inside a dimly lit cave, a young girl no older than 15 sat cross-legged in serene meditation. Her fiery red hair cascaded down her back, a striking contrast to the sleek black battle uniform she wore. Yet, there was something undeniably otherworldly about her. If one looked closely, they would notice an ethereal phenomenon surrounding her, a dark red lotus, its petals flickering like embers, enveloping her entire figure. The lotus pulsed faintly, radiating a mysterious, oppressive energy that seemed to distort the air around it. Standing not far from her was a girl of the same age with brown hair. Her attention was entirely focused on the red-haired girl, not looking away for even a second. Just then, the red lotus surrounding the red-haired girl faded away as she opened her eyes.
Young miss, is it done?
The brown-haired girl asked quickly, seeing the red-haired lady open her eyes.
It's done. I've finally integrated the entire essence of the 8-petal flaming lotus.
Alice smiled, her tone laced with satisfaction.
It's good that no other guild heard about the 8-petal flaming lotus born in this dungeon, or chaos would surely have ensued. Also, Amy.
Alice looked at the brown-haired girl, sending daggers at her with her eyes.
What, Miss Alice?
Amy stammered in fear. Alice sighed, seeing her personal maid, whom she had spent more time with than anyone else, so scared of her.
How many times have I told you not to call me miss when we're outside? Moreover, we're childhood friends, so you should just call me Alice like everyone else. But I am your maid.
Amy said, her head lowered. Alice folded her hands in front of her chest and sighed.
You never learn, Amy, do you?
She shook her head lightly.
Let's go and leave this cave.
She glanced around, seeing thousands of shiny red crystals scattered around them.
Also collect all these mana crystals. They might come in handy, just in case.
Amy nodded quickly and began collecting the mana crystals one by one. It took them an hour to completely collect all the cores.
That lava serpent was smart. It used the mana crystals from all over the charred forest to accelerate the growth of the 8-petal flaming lotus.
Alice mused, looking at the storage ring on her hand before putting it away.
Let's go.
They headed back, but when they reached the entrance of the cave, they found it blocked by rocks and stones.
Looks like a fight broke out between the level 8 lava wolf and that level 9 flame serpent.
Alice muttered softly.
Step back.
She warned Amy, her hands blazing with red flames. An arrow of pure red flames floated above her hand. The red-hot flaming arrow shot out from her hand and struck the blockade. Bang! The blockade was blasted open, revealing the world outside.
Let's go.
Alice called out to Amy as she stepped outside the cave, but what she saw surprised her. She saw the level 9 lava serpent sleeping peacefully beside a young man with grayish-silver hair. Him? Alice frowned. If she recalled correctly, this guy had the strength of level 3, which now appeared to be level 4. But what is he doing here with the level 9 lava serpent?
What have you two been doing inside? I've been waiting for you guys for quite a while now.
Max said with a smile, seeing the two ladies finally come out. He had returned about an hour ago when he saw the blockade was still intact, so he had been waiting since then.
Are you sent by the other guild? The Black Lotus?
Alice immediately asked coldly.
Huh.
Max looked confused, not understanding what she meant.
Have you gone mad inside the cave, or something? I'm here for the treasure you two found inside. I've seen you two go in, so you must have found something valuable that this dumb snake was protecting.
He smiled greedily. Alice narrowed her eyes in suspicion.
Where did all those level 6 and level 7 wolves go? What about the level 8 lava wolf?
She asked warily.
Oh, them? I killed them.
Max replied, before returning to the topic.
Where are the treasures?
He asked, smiling.
You think anyone will believe you?
Alice sneered. Max sighed, understanding her meaning.
But still, I want a part of the treasure, or I won't let you two leave from here.
He insisted. Max really wanted some treasures right now, whatever it was that they found inside the cave. He had come to this dungeon with the hope of finding many mana crystals and getting rich overnight, but what he had gotten till now was pure disappointment except for the bloodline he obtained a while ago. 29 A wager.
Everything inside the cave is what we obtained through our own strength.
Amy said confidently, or at least she tried to sound confident.
Why should we give them to you?
Max shrugged.
Because I also had my eyes on the cave, but you two used some sort of invisible treasure item to get inside while I could only wait.
Alice sneered.
Just because of that, you want us to give you a part of whatever we obtained in the cave.
Max nodded and smiled.
Exactly. Also, because you two seem pretty well off, judging by the grand entrance you made outside.
He had seen them arrive on a flying beast, an exceedingly rare mode of transportation, usually accessible only to the wealthy or those from prominent families. Alice narrowed her eyes and looked at Max strangely.
Are you seriously trying to rob hunters from the Phoenix Order? Phoenix Order?
Max froze, stunned. He hadn't expected they were from the Phoenix Order Guild. Damn, this just makes things much more complicated.
What? Are you trembling in fear now?
Alice chuckled, seeing the drastic change in Max's expression. It confirmed that he didn't belong to any other guild, dispelling any doubts about Max being an assassin sent to kill them. Max frowned. On one hand, he couldn't afford to offend the Phoenix Order Guild because the only lead he had on his sister was from that guild. On the other hand, he couldn't let go of any treasures they had obtained. He had to at least get a share.
Look, I won't make things difficult for you since I also have intentions of joining the Phoenix Order Guild.
Max said softly.
But I really need some treasures because I couldn't find a single mana crystal in this damn forest. So, if we can come to an agreement, it will be better for both of us.
Alice smiled at the sudden change in Max's tone.
Your suggestion is good, but you got one thing wrong.
She said, smiling.
And what would that be?
He asked, grinning. Alice scoffed at Max's confident tone.
It's about your strength. Do you think you can stop us with your measly strength at level 4?
She said disdainfully, pointing at the level 9 lava serpent.
Even if you could somehow control the lava serpent, your chances are less than 1%.
Max sighed. He had expected to be looked down on with his current level of strength, but there was nothing he could do. However, that didn't mean he would let this opportunity slip by.
How about this?
Max suggested, his expression sly.
You attack me, and if I block your attack, you'll give me all the treasures you've obtained from the cave.
Alice frowned at Max's words. She didn't know why, but she had a bad feeling about this. He was too confident for someone at level 4, making her suspicious about the suggestion.
Very well, but I have to tweak your suggestion a bit.
She agreed, coming up with a plan. Max smiled.
I'm all ears.
Alice nodded and said.
First of all, you will not use the level 9 lava serpent. And secondly, you'll have to take 3 of my attacks head on.
Fearing he might decline her suggestion, she quickly added.
Don't worry though, even if you get injured somehow, my friend here has a healing class. She can heal you to your peak. So what do you say?
Max contemplated for a moment and nodded.
But I also want to add something. What is it?
Alice asked curiously. Max smirked and said.
If I win this bet, not only will I get all the treasures you obtained from the cave, but you will also recommend me to the Phoenix Order Guild. That's it.
Alice was stunned. She had expected Max to want something more, like more treasures, but the recommendation to the guild was an easy task for her. Max nodded, seeing her surprised tone. Although recommending him wasn't a big deal for her, for him, it was an opportunity he couldn't let go. He had to seize every chance to enter the Phoenix Order Guild.
All right, then we have a deal.
Alice smiled as she stepped back a little. Just then, her right hand began to blaze with crimson-red flames, and in a moment, the flames coalesced into a red flaming arrow that floated above her hand.
Be ready. I'm about to attack.
Alice warned Max. Fighting monsters and battling humans were two entirely different experiences. Excelling at one didn't automatically guarantee proficiency in the other. However, those skilled in fighting humans often had a significant edge when facing monsters of the same level, as their adaptability and strategic thinking were already honed to a sharper degree.
Here it goes.
Alice launched her flaming arrow. It flew toward Max, leaving behind a trail of red light and smoke. Max stood his ground with his three-dimensional body skill active. Just as the arrow entered his attack range, Max made his move. He angled his sword downward to the right, slashing with precision to deflect the flaming arrow away. Bang! The arrow struck his sword and changed direction, hitting the ground to his right and erupting into a small explosion of red flames that lit up the area, leaving a scorch mark in its wake. That was easy, Max thought, turning his attention to Alice. He saw her wide eyes staring at him with pure astonishment.
What happened?
He asked, frowning. Is it really that strange for a level 4 to block attacks from a level 8, he wondered. Alice didn't reply, her mind still reeling from the image of how Max had effortlessly deflected her arrow with his sword. It had been a fine sword flow that deflected her attack. Meanwhile, Amy was in even more shock than Alice. Only she knew that Alice's strength had always been a step above geniuses at the same level. Yet, her attack had been easily deflected by someone 4 levels below her. What did that mean?
How did you do that?
Alice asked, coming to her senses, though her expression was still one of shock and astonishment. She still couldn't believe that her attack had been so easily dealt with by a level 4. Max smiled mysteriously.
It's a secret. Humph.
Alice snorted.
Let's see if your secret can save you from 2 more of my attacks.
From what she could tell, Max had managed to block her last attack because of his fine swordplay, but she didn't believe he could do the same for her next attack. She brought both her hands forward, which soon began to blaze with red flames. A moment later, 6 blazing red arrows floated